Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. This is the regular Board of County Commissioners meeting for September 13th, 2002. We appreciate you being in attendance today. It is our custom to begin our meetings with the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would like to join us, we'd ask you to stand at this time, and Commissioner Kennard is going to lead us today.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer again today, so thankful for the many blessings in our lives. Lord, we thank you for having us here today to go through our agenda, have some great discussion. We pray that you'd give us wisdom and discernment as we go about doing the county's business. We thank you for those who are in attendance today, and we pray that you'd give us open ears, hearts, and minds as people come forward during the public input portion to hear their input into how they believe their county government should proceed. Lord, we pray that you would be with our men and women in uniform around the world. We pray that you'd bring them home safely. And for our men and women right here in our own community, our first responders, we pray that you'd be with them as well. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Kennard.
Thank you.
We have a roll call, please.
This is a regular meeting of the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners, this 13th day of September 2022. In attendance are Chairman Ronald Kitchen, First Vice Chair Ruthie Slaybaugh, Second Vice Chair Holly Davis, Commissioners Jeff Kennard and Scott Carnahan, County Administrator Randy Oliver, and County Attorney Denise Lynn.
Thank you very much. On the adoption of the agenda, we have two items to pull. Mr. Oliver has asked to pull item E1D. That would be under bids, and then the other one was E10. So we're going to remove those from the agenda. Is there any other changes, Mr. Oliver?
The only other thing I need to do is, because the motions didn't print through on the bids, I need to read the bids as we go through them,
Okay.
or read the motion.
Pardon me, Chair, did you
Yes.
say E1 Delta?
Yes. Yes.
Second motion to approve the agenda and remove E1D and E10.
Second.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Carnahan, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any discussion amongst the commissioners?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I would like to discuss EF, pull that for discussion.
Which one?
E1F.
Oh, well, when we get to that.
Okay, where are we at?
We're right now, we're just on the adoption of the agenda.
Oh, okay, thank you,
All
okay.
right. Is there any other changes
Didn't wanna
to the
miss it.
agenda, any deletions or additions? Okay, seeing none, so we have a motion by Commissioner Carnahan, second by Commissioner Kennard. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we're going to the consent agenda, which consists of items B1 through B11. Commissioners, what's your pleasure with the consent
Move
agenda?
approval of entire consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Carnahan makes a motion to approve the consent agenda, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment on any item on the consent agenda? Commissioners, any other discussion?
No, sir.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That passes unanimously. Next, we have one proclamation. Is that correct, Mr. Wright?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Those folks are here today?
At least, yes, I think so.
Okay, so folks are here, so let's have a motion to approve item C1 from somebody.
I move
Motion to
to,
approve item C1.
second.
Okay, so Commissioner Kennard makes a motion, second by Commissioner Slaybaugh. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. And would the commissioners come front for the presentation?
Board of County, am I singing? The Board of County, I'm singing now. Hey, can you hear me? You can't hear me? Okay, well, I'm just gonna disagree. I'm back on the other line. The Board of County Commissioners of Citrus County, Florida proclamation Save Our Waters Week. Whereas the citizens of Citrus County treasure the God-given water resources of our aquifers, springs, river lakes, and coastal estuaries. They are interconnected, essential elements of our physical situation which are shared with wildlife and our beautiful abundant plant life. And whereas we depend upon the quantity, and quality of our waters for personal hygiene, home services, agricultural, business pursuits, and occupations. And whereas our waters are highly valued recreational resources for boating, swimming, fishing, and diving. Now therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of Citrus County does hereby proclaim September 17th through the 24th, 2022 as Save Our Waters Week in Citrus County, signed by all 5 county commissioners.
Well, good. Thank you so much for this honor. We really appreciate it. We've been doing this for 27 years. And our fearless leader, Lace, is not here with us today, so we're just going to do the best we can. But we just want to say thank you. This is seriously, cleanup starts on this Saturday. And our Rotary Club is really actively involved in it. We encourage all of you to sign up and clean up our waterways. And we have a tremendous program this entire week. And we're going to conclude it on Saturday with Gary Coole's presentation at the courthouse, he's such an incredible man. I cannot believe that I've known him for 30 years too. So thank you so much for this honor. And don't forget, October 20th is our Jeopardy game for high schools and middle schools. And this is what Carol and I have been doing for many, many years, where we give schools $500 for whoever wins the game. And thank you so much for this recognition again. It's 27 years and still going. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to go into open to the public. So let me remind you of our rules of operation. You're allowed to come up and speak up to 3 minutes on any subject that you would like. If you are here from an organization that has approval in writing that's been filed with the clerk to represent that organization, let us know, and we'll recognize you for 5 minutes. We ask that you speak with proper decorum and civility, and when you're in the audience, we do not take shouting, cheering, booing, applauding, any type of disruption whatsoever from the audience, okay? It disrupts the proceedings, but it also distracts from your neighbors, the people beside you and around you that are trying to hear what's going on, okay? So, with that said, we will now proceed with whoever would like to speak first. Yes, by the way, I forgot to say, please fill out a green form before or after speaking, so thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Sabrina Watson, Lecanto, Florida. Hoping to speak a second time today on this water situation. Last Thursday night at the budget meeting, I heard the following words: how are we supposed to pay our bills? And we are cut to the bone. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the sheriff's budget. It was anything but transparent. Not a single one of his puppets can tell anyone in the room how many cars his department bought last year, what kind or type, who received them, and whether or not they were even outfitted as police cars. This board approved and allowed that farce of a budget. A department with zero transparency has the potential for all kinds of fraud. This board should have held out until a true budget was provided. The sheriff should have been forced to go to the governor and speak in front of a panel and explain why he can't provide taxpayers with transparent information like what he spends $41 million on. How much of the previous slush amounts went where it shouldn't have? I do, however, applaud Commissioner Kitchen for his comments that evening. Then there's the drop program. We have multiple elected officials triple dipping, some taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from the backs of hardworking citizens. Legal is not moral. The county has the ability to refrain from rehiring drop program individuals. This eliminating drop program individuals rehires would create hundreds of new jobs in Citrus County and save thousands of dollars. Property leases. Some progress has been made here, but not enough. The county is still forcing taxpayers to subsidize organizations with tax-exempt statuses, some with incomes as high as $1 million per year. poisoning of our waterways. I know that's coming up here in a little bit, and I sent you all over 50 pages of material this morning. Citrus County taxpayers and this board are paying millions of dollars toward the destruction and death of our waterways. You're aware of it and paying for it. Then you applaud groups like Too Far for going after grants from the dirty politicians to clean up the waterways that you paid and are still paying to destroy. Estuary marine scientist Brian Nemeth will be breaking that news. He has proof that, in fact, you are starving and poisoning the manatees. He couldn't be here today because of the website fiasco. I couldn't get the agenda until this morning. So he's in Levy County. There's a bunch of millions for your budget. We can talk about voter integrity also. Lake County has just exposed voter fraud in the form of mail-out ballots. We have 55% mail-out ballots in Citrus County as well. Right here in Citrus County, our SOE openly supports ERIC, which was founded in 2012 to create a national voter list by a third-party operative, Soros-funded. All of your personal information is being supplied to this third party. ERIC software and servers have in fact been traced to Wuhan, China by True the Vote. They are in DC today on this very matter. Political prisoners, we have them all over the country, and right here in Florida, in Pinellas County, a man named Jeremy Brown is in jail with no charges. So the next time y'all want to pat yourselves on the back, maybe you should look in the mirror and see if you can find some real integrity and use your voice for something that really does matter, or that really is important, or that really will truly help with budgeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have the next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman. Good to see you, board members. My name is Rebecca Bays. I'm County Commissioner-elect, and I am here today to just make a comment on item G1. I find myself in a position that 8 years ago, I sat on this board, and we were looking for a county administrator at that time. And as I recall, Chairman Commissioner, you came before our board and said respectfully that you thought it would be the right thing to do to let the new incoming board pick that administrator. And I'm here today to ask for that same courtesy. I think it would be the prudent act, and if anything at all, that we could just pick an interim county administrator to fill that position until we can find the right person with the new seated board. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Josh Hicks. I'm owner of Handy Hicks Insured Handyman and president of the Skill Building Class Incorporated. I first off wanted to thank you for the years that you put in to be a service to the community. It's not easy whatsoever, I'm sure. But all throughout what you've experienced, I'm proud of you. The Skill Building Class Incorporated is a nonprofit in Homosassa. It accommodates 28 youth for 12 weeks, meeting one time a day on Wednesdays. It's preparing children for obviously what adults are not prepared for, obtaining quality life skills, and learning how to use your hands as well as your mind. I came here to introduce this to you, considering I have been called to ask to speak at a Kings Bay Rotary Club meeting tomorrow, so I thought this would be a good practice. Considering that the skill building class received its final approval letter from the IRS in February 22, this will be the first year, but the third year that this will be my contribution to the community. I believe it's super important that we enable. It's not super important, it's not professional. It's essential that children have education that they can learn from and excel from legitimately, like self-improvement, self-advancement, building confidence within themselves. I just was in the parking lot rushing to from work to hem up my button on my suit, and those are one of the activities that we teach these kids, sewing, drywall, well, just so much stuff. But the biggest thing is for them to be resourceful in life, so they don't have to prepare notes of negativity to introduce to you, but notes of, not notes, 'cause I don't have notes, but positive things that they can bring to the community instead of nitpick life away. We have one life to live, and just make the best of it. And I'm proud of you. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Congratulations, Chair and Second Chair. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you. Can we have the next speaker, please?
Terry Weber-Nellis of Inverness Village 4. Commissioner Davis, approximately a year ago, the residents brought to your attention the situation in Inverness Village 4. Today, the situation has deteriorated to the point that the homeowners have placed sandbags on their property to protect their investments from water and sand damage. Gas lines, water lines are nearly exposed due to washouts. Ditches approximately 3 feet deep at the end of driveways make it impossible for homeowners to get in and out of their homes. Please share with us what you have done over this past year to help us. Perhaps there were things you did behind the scenes that we're not aware of. Can you explain how the county allowed this to happen? This may be a question that you need to refer to Mr. Oliver and Ms. Lynn. Commissioner Davis Schlaba, am I pronouncing it correctly? Okay.
Not really, but you
That's
did
okay.
good.
I can fake it. You stated the residents are responsible for road maintenance. Why is that when the residents did not strip the roads of grass or weeds that in some areas were waist high? We are not the ones who placed the stone down on the roads, and we did not make changes to the road without the correct Swift Mud permit in place. Commissioner Kennard, you stated a remedy is coming. Please explain that comment in detail. We are asking the county again to maintain the roads in a passable condition for emergency vehicles and residents, as the county has done in the years past in Inverness Village 4. We're also asking that you expedite our MSBU. Concerning Swift Mud, there seems to be some confusion on the county's part as to who has changed the original landscape of the roads. I strongly urge someone from the county to contact Elizabeth Fernandez at Swift Mud for clarification so that all parties are on the same page. Your hands are not tied, commissioners, and this situation never should have reached this level. I want to leave documentation for all the commissioners to review. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name's David Nellis. I'm Inverness Village 4, and I've been in this business for 40 years of construction. I've just retired in April, and I would just like to know if we've placed anything at all with Swift Mud or environmental protection before you start a subdivision. Because it seems like Hernando, Pasco, and all the other counties that I've worked in, done subdivisions, they've all had environmental crew to make sure that everything was in place through the engineers and everything. And I'm just like to know if you guys have thought about putting something in effect to stop this in the future. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak?
Hello, yes. I'm Rhonda Santis. I would like to address some issues with our builders in Citrus County about the licensing and permitting and monitoring of their activity. Okay, where I live, there's a builder who's building 2 homes directly across the street from me. And they have just had the worst maintenance problems over there where garbage is all over the place, and the county has cited them twice, and I hear that it's only a $100 fine. $100 fine. These homes cost like $400,000, and of course they're smaller than mine, but still $100. It's a chronic issue. They're doing all that they can to just make a mess of my area. The public right-of-way, they're destroying it. Yet when I built my mansion, I had to resod the whole side of the property across the street from me because what my builder did. Who's going to pay for all the sod on my side that's being destroyed? I just put it in when I put in my big retaining wall that cost me $40,000. I'm sorry, but we need some equity here in this county. These builders need to be held accountable. And we, the people, shouldn't have to pick up the tab every time they decide, oh, we're going to build a house, but we're going to hire subcontractors that don't know what they're doing or have no consideration for the development where they live, where they're working. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Please
Thank
do
you.
something about
Can we have the next speaker, please?
Janet Barrick on behalf of myself. All right, so it's 3 minutes. All right, this week was very frustrating for me personally. I usually go online on Tuesday, and I'm able to pull up the agenda and the backups. Wasn't there. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, wasn't there. Finally, somebody from Parks and Recs was very helpful, said go on to their site, you know, and then they walked me through to find, they did have a copy of the agenda, so I could print it out on Friday afternoon at 10 minutes to 5 to find out what the schedule was, but I didn't take the time to see if the backups were there. Okay, this is because we're changing, we're growing. The same thing will happen if you start putting notices in the newspaper or take it away from the newspaper and start doing everything online. I am not 100% computer savvy, but I can get around halfway decent. We have so many people in Citrus County that aren't even as savvy as I am, that if you start putting the public notices online, there's going to be a lot of uproar because it's not going to get out there in the public where it's supposed to be. Second, I was here when Commissioner Bays and everybody waited for the new board to do the interviews and do the hiring. And I think that she is correct, and I agree with her 100%. There is no reason why the board cannot wait until all 5 new board members are on board to do the interviewing and do the hiring, because that's the board that's going to be working with that administrator. And that's going to be a different board than we have currently. So it's something for you to consider. And yeah, in Citrus Springs, we do have all those houses going up. And yes, we have the same building problem. We have our deed restriction people out there giving notices and to people to pick up. We also know that you get in touch with the building department. And they send people out there to make sure that the dumpsters are being used. And it is a daily thing by all the builders because they are using subcontractors. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to address the board at this time?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Labriel. I'm speaking as an individual today, and I live in Inverness. I just wanted to speak to you all today because, as most of you have heard, I'm running for Inverness City Council, and I'm looking forward to joining that board. And if I'm able to join that board, I want to see the city work more hand in hand with the county to, avoid any duplication of services, maybe to save some money for the residents, and cooperate in any ways that we can, since we're serving the same citizens, and there's a lot of overlap there. But in addition to that, I've been before this board a number of times. When I first moved here, not very long ago, I wasn't planning to get involved at all in politics, but at all really. But just because of coming to so many of your meetings, becoming so familiar with the local issues, and getting the warm welcome from all the board. Well, not all the board, but some of the board. I've learned so much, and I've grown to really feel like I have a stake in the community, and to appreciate what's going on, and to meet so many of the folks that I feel like there's something I can give back, and so that's why I decided to run for this position now. You're all familiar with me, on the issues that I've spoken to you about. but maybe you don't know so much about my background. My background is in journalism, but I also share a PR background with one of your board members, Commissioner Davis. So, you know, I think that communication factor is important at the county level, but as well as the city, so we can, you know, let the residents know more about the services that we both provide. And I also have served on a variety of boards, including the largest condo association in South Florida, where I was able to save the association a lot of money. We were getting a lot of lawsuits from, you know, disgruntled owners, and we had issues where the insurance company didn't want to pick up a claim, and you know, I was able to save the association a lot of money by actually going to the or actually writing to Tallahassee and getting Tallahassee to force the insurance company to take that claim. But if I get on the board, I'll also be, you know, I've spoken to you a lot about the library issue, but I'm also very pro-life, and so I want to work to make Inverness a sanctuary for the unborn, to ban abortion clinics in Inverness, and hopefully, you know, have that be something that's taken countywide as well. So I look forward to, you know, a vigorous campaign over the next couple of months, and I want to, you know, also let the owners know that if they want to, the voters know if they want to reach out to me, they can reach me on my Facebook page at facebook.com/John4Inverness. That's the number 4 Inverness, or they can call me at 954-515-2084. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board at this time? Anyone else? Okay, we'll close public input. For the board responds to anything they'd like to, I will respond to the issue about the selection of the county administrator. The word was consider this. We've been talking about this since, Mr. Oliver, when did you come in and say I can't take it anymore? That was March or whatever. It was all we could do to keep Mr. Oliver in that seat until May, from May, and then to get through the end of this year and through the budget period. I would just ask you all to go back in history and try to remember what it might have been like to get through the budget without Mr. Oliver and Colleen Scott here. That would have been quite a time. So, with all that said, we had much debate. The board has been unanimous after these discussions the whole way through the process. We're up to the end of the process today, and the question is always asked, why are the two people leaving the board getting to vote? Well, the answer is because we're still on the board, and we have much experience when it comes to executive level hiring, okay? The other thing is, we have asked the incoming board people and the presumed incoming board people to take part in this today, which I'll go into debate later on, because as you hear from Mr. Slavin later on, it's important that not only the current county commissioners that have a full understanding of the job participate, but anybody that we hire is going to want to know that the incoming commissioners were part of the process and were involved in it, and they have their support as well. So it is kind of a unique process. I'll explain that more in detail as we get to it later on. But we're going to work through this the way we have up to this date. We've been unanimous. We've discussed every date. And quite frankly, you know me, folks, I don't pull the punches. There's a great undertone of whitewashing this whole thing and bringing a good old boy back in, okay? And we agreed in the very beginning that wasn't going to happen. We were going to do a nationwide search. We were going to all meet with the independent headhunter that we hired, we voted on unanimously to hire. We've been going through the process, and the whole process is to let the best applicant that's applied after they've gone through this whole process serve the citizens of Citrus County. Not coming down to who knows who and who's friends with who and who's buddies with who. And that's what we're going to avoid at all costs. So that's part of the pledge I made to the people when I ran for this job. So I can still do that till November 21st, and I intend to do that. And so that's the only thing I'll comment on that. We'll get into the nuts and the bolts and the mechanics of it when we get to that item, which will be coming up shortly, because once we get through the routine business, except for reading of all the bids today, I can't believe we have to do that. That's usually the fastest thing on the agenda. We don't, okay, wait a minute, okay.
I think it was just not printed on the main sheet, but it's on each individual agenda item. So
So-
I don't think we have to read
If the
through.
attorney's comfortable with that, I am.
Okay, you're comfortable just taking the way we usually do it?
Yes, because they're on the agenda memos.
Okay, well, good. Well, I'm sure Mr. Oliver's happy with that then, too. Okay. So with that said, Commissioners, Commissioner Carnahan, you want to start? Any comments to anything you heard today?
When we get to the administrator, we'll have that discussion as the board. Where are we at with the Inverness 4 MSBU? I mean, I drove out there last week, and I feel your misery. Unfortunately, the developer shouldn't have done those things, but he did. But I feel your misery. I was out there last week, so So where are we at?
A lot.
A petition's been filed, it's been verified, and we're going to be setting up a public hearing for the board to consider creating an MSBU. There's a meeting Monday night to discuss with the residents how that's going to work. I would note that whoever cut those roads out there, and there's some differences of opinion as to who that may have been, did not have the authority to do that, and they could be sanctioned severely for not complying with the requirements. The county cannot refuse to issue a building permit for absence of another building permit. Or absence of another permit. I do not necessarily agree with that, but that's the law. So we could not hold up the permits because we tried. What the MSBU will do is it will assess the benefited property owners for the cost of the improvements to the road, just like over on Bennett Street. And they will be able to pay it back over a period of time if they can't pay it initially. We have 400 miles of unpaved roads in the county, and if we do this one or do anything different, it's going to create a problem with those other ones, and rightly so. So we're handling this in the same manner. Realistically speaking, you're probably 2 years out from it being done.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lynn. Anything?
I don't think I have anything to add.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up? The one gentleman did ask the question, is there something in place to keep something like this from happening again? Any comment on that?
Yes, hopefully no Board of County Commissioners will allow a subdivision to be platted if the developer doesn't comply with all of the platting requirements.
There you go. I knew. There we go. Okay, very good. So there's your answer. If the commissioners follow the law and do what they're supposed to do, you won't have these kind of issues in the future. Okay?
Recognizing that in 1972, perhaps the laws weren't the same as
Right,
they are today.
Okay.
And Mr. Hicks, thank you for your involvement with youth. We appreciate that. We need more of that. So thanks for being here today, and thanks for your involvement. Other than that, we'll discuss everything else down the line here.
Okay, Commissioner Slaybach, any comments?
Yes, sir. The Inverness Villages, you touched on everything. That was building permits, MSBU, the developers situation, that it was 1972 when this was first platted. The only thing I want to say is, and I could be wrong, and I will go back and look, when I said that about the roads and this sugar sand, I was talking about private roads. And that when you buy a property and there's sugar sand roads, that's something that you think about when you buy it. Some people like to be that off the grid. So that I wasn't by any means, I'm sorry that it came off that way, that I was dissing your development. But what I was saying is, as a property owner, when you buy it and there's no roads, now you all have a completely different situation, and I've been trying to let the attorney and the administrator handle it, and so I do sympathize with you. I understand you're in between a rock and a hard place, and hopefully we can get something accomplished so that you will be able to get emergency service down your road and things that you as a taxpayer have the right to. So I'm not just ignoring you, I just probably didn't communicate it well. Rhonda DeSantis, we talked about, I actually talked with you and tried to help you, so I hope that got resolved. Janet, listen, you're doing a good job, and I'm gonna keep saying that, and I don't think people realize what you're doing out there at Citrus Springs, and they might very well soon learn that, how much you do. And Mr. Hicks, thank you for teaching the trades the trades and teaching our youth the trades. It's very important, and I know you're taking some time off of your work just to even be here and put a suit on. So thank you, sir. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir. Mr. Hicks, where did you go? Somewhere, there you are, hello. I too want to add my incredible appreciation for you always looking out for positive growth in the county, always looking to do something to better the community, and especially with youth. I can add on a personal note that I hired Mr. Hicks, I think I was one of the first programs for his newly formed apprenticeship program, so I actually had some kids out in my driveway fixing some cracks in the driveway and whatnot, and they did an outstanding job, so thank you, Mr. Hicks. Let's see, the agenda, Janet, where'd you go? There you are. Ms. Barrett. The agenda changeover has been a little rough for the commissioners too, so my apologies to the community for that. Builder trash, is it true? Code violation is only a $100 fine?
I don't think it's a code violation. I think it's under the contractor's licensing that it may be 100. I'm not sure. I can certainly check and see what it is, but I think it is under the contractor licensing.
Seems a little light, and we are, I mean, I can see 5 houses being built from my house. So fortunately, we haven't had a problem like that, but there are a lot of houses being built right now. So we need to stay on top of that to minimize the disruption. All right, now for the tough one, Inverness Villages 4. Mr. and Mrs. Nellis and everybody else listening from Inverness Villages 4. This is, you just heard cold comfort coming from the board. There's really, I have beat my head against a wall ever since hearing about this. I have had multiple meetings with both our administrator and our attorney saying, is there anything we can do? And the answer has always been the same between all the government entities. And as somebody that's coming from outside of government, I share your frustration. It's just tough. We have to do the permits. We have to issue permits. We're preempted in that. We can't not do the permits. And we can't pave your roads and do stormwater for free on the county backs because we all pay for that. Well, you're shaking your head, but those of us who live on paved roads paid for that in that purchase price of our home. And we'll talk about all this on Monday during the meeting, but I would ask, and our chairman answered the question about why this won't be done in the future. A commission in 1972 allowed the platting of that development, so that was, I mean, I wasn't even living here yet. I was, 6 years old. So we're having to deal with that, but what we're dealing with is about this much, and what you're dealing with is this much. And so I recognize that, and I am so very sorry, and I will keep pushing to see if there's something we can do. And I would say, is there anything legally, and I'm going to beg you one more time, Ms. Lynn, find us something we can do in the 2 years before all of this gets paved and stormwatered. Please find something we can do. Working with SWIFMA, DEP, something. Because it's not okay to have sandbags and not be able to get emergency services there. It's just not. And that's all I have.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Might I?
please.
The only thing I would caution is, I have spoken with our fire chief. They have been out there, they have looked at the area, and they assure me that there is no area out there that they can't get to if someone needs them. So I would ask that we please not continue saying that emergency vehicles can't get out there, because I have been assured that they can. And from what I understand, the chief has spoken, the chief or someone at the chief's request has spoken to individuals out there and has assured them that if anything happens, that they can get there. We've got a big brush truck, I think it's called, that can get out there, and I've been assured that they're going to get there. So no one is going to not have emergency response if they need it.
That's an outstanding point. I think the truth is bad enough without making it worse. The truth is bad enough in that their own personal vehicles, it's tough to get in and out, mail, et cetera. So we got to get this fixed somehow.
Commissioner Kennard.
Yeah, let's see, it looks like all of the issues have already been addressed. Inverness Villages 4 being the big one. And I too will thank Mr. Hicks for everything that he's doing, very valuable skills that he's teaching our youth. He's doing a great thing for our community, so thank you.
All right. Yeah, just a final word to Mr. Hicks. You know, you don't need to worry about speaking to groups with a speech when you speak from the heart the way you did. So people realize when you speak from the heart, that matters much more than there's a lot of smooth talkers that say very little. You know, you delivered your message quite strongly, and that's what counts, and I think that's what people see. So we'll just give you our blessings as you move forward with your project. And I particularly like, you know, your training with your hands and minds. That's very good. So thank you so much. Okay, so that said, we will now move into regular business, which consists of the bids. And as I understand it, we can do the way we traditionally do, unless you want to pull a particular bid. Item D under bids, 1AD, has been pulled. Is there any other, or anyway, Commissioners, how would you like to deal with bids? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
just wanted to discuss bid F. Yes, bid F.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
move for approval of E1A we've already pulled D and pull F for discussion
Okay.
all the way through K.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Carnahan, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment? Any further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. And that passes unanimously. So let's go back to item F. Commissioner Schlebaugh.
I just wanted a little more information. I spoke to Mr. Oliver about this last night and yesterday in our briefing, and I don't feel comfortable voting on something where I don't know exactly what we're dumping into our waters. Now, I know we don't have scientists on staff, so I just wanted to put that out there that, you know, before we just voted to pass everything, I don't feel, I would like a little bit more information, and I know I'm not going to hold it up by my questions, but I would like to try to get some of the answers, you know. And I think Mr. Oliver.
Mr. Oliver?
Yes, remember that the permit for applying herbicides comes from FWC. And FWC works with IFAS and the University of Florida, who do testing, and we rely on them to test these products and determine whether these products are safe. As I mentioned to you in the yesterday, we don't have that capability on staff. We have no scientists, no chemists, or anything like that. This needs to be done at a much higher level and at a statewide level. And if people have questions as it relates to particular chemicals or they feel it's inappropriate, I would refer them to FWC and to the University of Florida and IFAS.
Yes, thank you. So that's all I have to say.
So do you have any action you wish to take on this, or just?
No,
Okay.
I just don't feel comfortable voting on this particular thing without more information. I don't personally, so.
Well,
Chair.
Yes.
Move for approval of item EF.
E1F,
F.
right. Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment?
Yep, that's what I figured.
Was just purely coincidental.
Good afternoon again, Sabrina Watson. I sent you guys over 50 pages of information this morning, and I know it was late this morning, regarding the spraying of our lakes and waterways. The FWC is currently embroiled in a class action suit with their employees over liver and pancreatic cancer, the same cancers that the manatees and porpoises are dying from. The Okeechobee Lake is absolutely 100% dead. As I told you earlier, I would have been able to get the estuary scientist here out of Levy County, but I wasn't able to. Brian Nemeth, he's an estuary marine scientist. He wasn't able to get here in time. I would hope that we would postpone this till you could actually get a public hearing and get real information. This is the spray list, and these are the maps, 10 pages of maps. They're spraying these chemicals in places where kids are swimming every single day. This water also goes down into our aquifers. The list is endless. I don't even know what aquathol K diquat is, or flumloxazine, or diquat. I don't know what any of that stuff is, but I can tell you there's 10 pages of maps here that show you where it's being sprayed, again, in front of people's homes. Places where people swim and fish. And to just arbitrarily say that those chemicals are safe that's absolute insanity. There's no proof that they're safe. If they were safe, we wouldn't have pancreatic cancer and liver in manatees and porpoises in our waterways. We wouldn't have a fully dead lake, and we wouldn't have a class action suit with the FWC's own employees. That you can confirm. So again, I find it kind of ironic that we're having a save your waters thing today while we poison it. But anyway, I would hope that this would get postponed in a public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else to speak on the motion?
Donna Romo, Inverness. I'm not up there with FWC and all that, but I did take an environmental science class, and eutrophication does not require chemicals, period.
Thank you. Is anyone else to speak on the motion? Okay, so commissioners, further board discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Ms. Watson, we didn't arbitrarily say they're safe. We did listen to FWC and UF. So I believe the bone that you're picking is with them. That being said, I do think that it would be good if we, as we are especially going through this planning process that we're going through right now, where nature and community thrive, we are the nature coast, and nature is the most important thing. I'm also now old enough to have seen so many examples of when government said they were, here to help. And we've figured out that that hasn't worked out so well. Killed a lot of bald eagles in the early 70s, I believe. So that being said, I think it would be very interesting to have Florida Fish and Wildlife and/or University of Florida make a presentation on this. I would like to know, is there not, exactly what the chemicals are for, and if there is any mechanical way to fix the issue. For example, what we're doing in the Save Crystal River and the Homosassa restoration projects, which is physically vacuuming all the detritus that humans have put on the bottom of those waterways. So I would be inclined to table this until we can have some sort of presentation.
Okay. Any other board discussion?
No.
No? Let me ask you this. I mean, this is about a bid to buy the chemicals, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is this something that has to happen today? I mean, if the majority of the board wanted to hear from people about this,
You can hear about it, but if we can't buy the chemicals, we can't perform the work, and the lakes are gonna,
right,
be locked up with vegetation.
so either they get sprayed for vegetation or they don't. That's really where it's at, because we can only use chemicals that are approved through these agencies, right?
And it's specific on the permit as to what's being
Okay.
used.
So that's the question, board. Do you spray for the weeds or don't you? Yes, Commissioner Davis.
So this, are we buying chemicals through June 30th of '23?
That's what's contained in this particular piggyback bid, yes.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that you can't stop the contract earlier. My recommendation would be if you want to go to that direction, but again, the question that I've got is, do you all have the experience and the expertise to listen to the experts and determine what's best? I don't personally, but that's why we rely on FWC and the University of Florida. But my recommendation would be to award the bid. If you want to invite people in to discuss it, then you can terminate, not buy any after a certain date if that's your decision.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Obviously, I don't have the experience, I'm not a scientist, but I do know as a native Floridian, a lot of times that this is almost like a chemotherapy for our water, and if I just wanted a little more information. I don't feel comfortable, like, you know, is there something a little more green that we could use organic instead of this harsh chemicals? There's also the harvesting of the, you know, the invasive, and these are questions I just have that I would like to get answered. I didn't expect it to be, Ms. Watson do this, but I do think that there are some benefits that could be approached to the invasive species. And I just wanted some questions answered. And I just felt like I got the agenda a little late. I didn't have time to really get anything. I had my briefing yesterday. So not that I don't trust the government, but I don't necessarily trust the government. So I just have some questions. So.
There's one particular plant that grows in the water. I know Mark Edwards has told me that if they harvest it, if there's anything left behind, it will instantly multiply.
Sure.
And he says harvesting that just doesn't work at all because it will create all kinds of issues.
But are we then killing everything around it to stop this one invasive? That, I just have questions. So I'm just not gonna vote for this. I'm not gonna stop it, but I just had to put my feelings out there.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Kennard.
Is there anything wrong with approving this today and having, you know, taking more input and deciding, hey, we've got a contract that we can buy from this company, but we've decided to go another direction in November or December that, you know, that we've found millions of dollars and we're gonna start harvesting it, or if there's a different chemical that surfaces that's safer and we wanna go down that road. You know, approving this doesn't require us to buy this chemical, to use this chemical. It just simply sets it in place so that aquatics can continue doing their job until this board decides we wanna go a different direction.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Commissioner Kennard, you took the words right out of my mouth. And Commissioner Schlebel, I believe the word you're looking for is trust but verify. So I have defended publicly both DEP and mostly DEP more than FWC. But those folks are people too, and I sincerely doubt anybody applies to work in the Department of Environmental Protection or the Fish and Wildlife if they hate nature, right? So that being said, people are people and we're messy and government is messy. And I totally applaud the idea of letting this go forward now. But then let's get this on the docket to make sure that we do a full exploration of what other alternatives might be that are definitely in keeping with the Nature Coast. And if nothing else, it provides a lot of public transparency that University of Florida and FWC is in here to go through the whole thing.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Sullivan.
I can go with Commissioner Kennard's suggestion.
All right, okay, good. And just my little 2 cents thrown in here, this reminds me quite a bit of land application of sewage, does it not? Did we not
Oh,
go
no.
down? Did we not go down that road? We
Don't
did.
open that can.
Well, we did, and because citizens came in and said, it's wrong, it's killing stuff, it's bad. We had a room full of scientists telling us it's okay. We had a room full of people from the University of Florida telling us okay. We had a room full of farmers telling us it was okay. You know, so the end result is we can do all this, and that's fine to get more information, but what is your fallback? And that is there are no other approved chemicals. So either you use these chemicals or you don't, and you let the weeds grow. That's going to be your positions that you end up, which is, and again, we went through the ritual, as you recall. We spent months and months, you know, debating that, and in the end, we said, what are the other things, right? So with all that said, we do have a motion made by Commissioner Carnahan, second by Commissioner Kennard, to approve item E1F. We've heard from the public, and commissioners, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay, and that passes unanimously. Thank you. I believe we are now up to E2, Mr. Aller. Time for the lightning round.
Approved budget transfers for ground maintenance, community services, transit, septic upgrade initiative, American Rescue Plan grant, drug court benefits plan, land development, visitor convention bureau, utilities, and Animal Services for fiscal year 21-22.
Motion to approve E2?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Davis makes the motion, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment? Any board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That passes unanimously. E3, please.
Adopt and authorize the chairman to execute a resolution adopting amending the Restore Northwest Quadrant Sewer Design Grant Budget, Insurance Trust Budget, Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, Transportation Operations Section 5307, ARPA, State Housing Initiative Partnership, and Private Plant Interconnect Project Grant Budgets for fiscal year 21-22.
Move for approval. E3.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Carnahan makes the motion, second by Commissioner Slaybaugh. Is there any public comment? Any board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That passes unanimously. E4, please.
Approve and authorize the clerk to place acceptance stamp on release of lien, bill of sale, and warranty of materials or workmanship of all water lines and associated parts on the West Rum Place and record in the public records of Citrus County, Florida.
Mr.
Motion to
Chairman.
approve E4?
Second.
Okay. Actually, I heard Commissioner Slaybaugh first because she said, Mr. Chairman. So, and also I want to applaud Commissioner Kennard for speaking through the chairman and not to the audience. So far, you're the only one today that's done that. So, okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Slaybaugh, second by, who made that second down there? Can we fight about it?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public comment? Any further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. Item E5, please.
Approve and authorize the clerk to place acceptance stamp on release of liens, bill of sale, and warranty of materials or workmanship of all water lines and associated parts on the West Homeway Loop and record in the public records of Citrus County.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve E5.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Slaybaugh makes the motion, second by Commissioner Kennard. Any public comment?
Janet Barrick. I'd like to thank the Water Department and Mr. Cheek for going to the 6-inch. These two are in Citrus Springs, both West Rum and Homeway Loop, so thank you very much.
Okay, any other comments on item E5? Commissioners, anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That carries unanimously. E6, please, Mr. Oliver.
Yes, approve and authorize chairman to execute the solid waste disposal agreement for the importation of out-of-county solid waste between Citrus County and Advanced Disposal through September 13, 2023, at a rate of $40 a ton. B, authorize chairman to accept verification of bond in force for Argonaut Insurance Company security bond number SUR 0069942, extended to August the 23rd, 2023.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve E6,
A and B?
Second.
A and B.
Okay. Commissioner Slaybaugh makes the motion, second by Commissioner Kennard. Any public comment? Further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. And that is unanimous. E7, please.
Approve and authorize chairman to execute interlocal agreement for the disposal of solid waste between Citrus County and the city of Crystal River through September 30th, 23.
Move for approval. E7.
Commissioner Carnahan makes the motion, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment on E7? Any further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. And that passes 4-0 so far. And let's see, we're going to go on to E8.
Yes, E8A, approve and authorize the chairman to execute a new waste disposal agreement between Citrus County and Florida Express Environmental LLC with a security deposit of the amount of $20,000. B, approve termination of waste disposal account agreement with Florida Express Environmental LLC approved on 2/2 of 2011, and transfer Lexon Insurance Company Bond 1039035 to the new agreement.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve E8, A, and B.
Second.
Mr. Schleybaugh makes that motion, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there public comment on the motion? Any further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Passes 4-0. And let's see, E9, please.
Confirm the auction proceeds of $275,000 from the sale of the Ozella Fire Station, and approve related budget resolution directing the funds to infrastructure as was directed by the board at the last
Move for
meeting.
approval E9.
Okay, so Commissioner Carnahan makes the motion to approve, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment on item E9? Any further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes 4-0. E10 has been pulled, so we'll move to E11, Mr. Oliver.
Yes. A, approve and authorize the chairman to execute a new waste disposal account agreement between Citrus County and Sandland of Florida Enterprises, Inc. with a security deposit amount of $8,250. B, termination of waste disposal account agreement with Sandland of Florida Enterprises, Inc. Approval on 2/22/2011 and transfer cash deposit to the new agreement.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve E11, A, and B.
Okay. So there's
Second.
Second, so motion by Commissioner Schleybaugh, second by Commissioner Kennard. Any public comment on E11? Board, anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. It passes unanimously, 5-0. Commissioner Davis, how do you vote on E7?
Aye.
How do you vote on E8?
Aye.
And how do you vote on E9?
Aye.
Okay, clerk's got all those? Okay, thank you. That makes all those unanimous. Okay, let's go to E12.
E12, approve and authorize general release and hold harmless agreement between William Lutzfee and Citrus County as full and final settlement, including attorney's fees for claim number 819001.
Move for approval E12.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Carnahan makes a motion, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment? Any further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. And that's unanimous as well. E12, E13, please.
Approve and authorize the general release and hold harmless agreement, settlement agreement between Cynthia Marie Johnson as personal representative of the estate of Ellen May Walker in Citrus County as full and final settlement to include attorney fees and costs for claim 1099031.
Move for approval E13.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Carnahan makes the motion, second by Commissioner Kennard. Any public comment? Commissioners? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. And that passes 5-0. E14.
Yes, authorize the chairman to execute the premium recapitalization and supporting signature pages to approve the insurance policies listed for the period October 1, 22 through, actually it's September 30th, 23, and the additional insured endorsement to the Florida Sheriff's Risk Management Fund for a combined premium of $846,040. This is an increase of about 15%.
Motion to approve E14.
Okay,
Second.
Commissioner Davis makes the motion, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment? Any further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. It passes unanimously. Mr. Oliver, I did notice that you did put E9, which was the sale of something with a lot of money coming in, before you went to all these other items where we were spending a lot of money. So that was, I don't know if you did that on purpose, knowing you did. But, okay, E15, please.
E15 is to approve waste disposal account for GFL Solid Waste, or Solid Waste Southeast LLC, and security bond continuation for bond 0791322. We would ask for approval of A, B, and C.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve E15, A, B, and C.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Schleybaugh makes the motion, second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public comment on E15? Board, anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. E16.
Authorize chairman to approve the agreement between Citrus County, Florida Teamsters Local 79 as proposed with an effective date of October 1st. Provide the wage increases as indicated above to all regular employees and bargaining and non-bargaining excluding fire EMS personnel, and adjust the pay grades to match the increase above. It's a 4% increase, 50 cents an hour also.
Motion to approve E16.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Davis makes the motion, second by Commissioner Schleba. Is there any public comment? Any further board talk? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. And that passes unanimously. E17, please.
A, approve and authorize the chairman to execute notices regarding all that part of lot number 12 Fletcher Heights subdivision, page book 1, or PB 1, page 43, lying north of State Route 44, and all that portion of a certain 33-foot street lying north of lot 12, all in Fletcher Heights subdivision, SB 1, page 41, and also includes a portion of some other property. B, authorize staff to forward, too many numbers and things. Authorize staff to forward the document to the clerk of court.
Motion.
Yeah.
Motion to approve E17 A and B.
I got
I know
tired of
exactly
reading.
what it is.
So,
Second.
Second by Commissioner, okay, motion by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Kennard. Again, I know where you quit reading all that, but I believe you said lying north of State Road 44. My agenda says New State Road 44. Does that need to be in there, since you read it?
That's
And-
fine.
And the other one you said subdivision SB and it's PB one. So I know where you quit reading them because there were too many in there, so. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on that? Board, anything else? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Well, I would just like the record to reflect that it's the surveyors that come up with legal descriptions, not lawyers.
Yes.
At least it wasn't meets and bounds.
Yes, yes.
Good cover.
All right. Okay, Commissioners, anything else on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And that passes unanimously. E18, please.
Approve and authorize the chairman to execute release of liens for property abatement assessment by and between Citrus County and certain property owners. B, authorize the chairman to record the clerk to record the releases of lien in the public records of Citrus County.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve E18 A and B.
Okay.
Second.
Commissioner Schleba makes the motion, second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public comment? Board, anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That passes unanimously. E19, please.
Approve and authorize chairman to execute the Lecanto Park use agreement between Citrus County, Florida and Citrus Springs Civic Association to host a drone race championship at the designated drone park in Lecanto on October 19th and 20th. B, approved fee waiver request for $25 per day fee usage fee for drone racing championship.
You mean after all these years, we're finally gonna have a drone race?
Motion to approve E19 A and B.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Davis makes the motion, second by Commissioner Schleba. Is there any public comment?
On behalf of Citrus Springs Civic Association, this will be the second
Good.
drone race. We had one last year, the first week of November, and we were allowed to use the Lecanto Drone Park. The thing that we need to realize is it's the 20th and 21st, not the 19th
Okay.
and 20th, so somewhere the date got mixed up. The Civic Association is trying to do some things for tourism, other than manatees. This is a family thing. They do things for all ages, and drones are in our future. The military uses them, the police use them, all different areas are using them, and we'd like to be part of this up-and-coming, exciting adventure. So our treasurer is going to explain a little bit more because she's a lot more involved in it. And can we have just a tiny bit more than the 5 minutes?
No, ma'am. You get exactly 5 minutes.
But it's two
I don't think
speakers,
we're
so
gonna
we
need it.
restart the clock, do we not?
No, we don't. You don't. Each speaker. Well, no. See, did you stop the clock?
I did. I
Did
already
ask
did
you
it.
to?
Sorry.
No. The first speaker was speaking on behalf of the Civic Association with their permission. That's a 5-minute speaker. If she wants to continue speaking, she can. The next speaker gets 3 minutes. So if you've given up your 5 minutes, the next speaker gets 3 minutes, okay? So take your time, take a deep breath, and you got 3 minutes.
take her 3.
Okay.
I am the, Michelle Brooks. I am the treasurer of the Civic Association. I'm also the treasurer of Multi-GP, which is the world's largest drone racing league. Last year, we had our championship here in Citrus Springs. We had about 130-plus pilots and significant others. This year, it's going to be about 150-plus pilots, more along the lines of 200 pilots, coming in to Citrus Springs, also from international. We have at least 5 international pilots so far. They are the world's fastest drone racing pilots. They compete in DRL, which is on NBC. They also are in the movie industry. So a couple of our pilots, hopefully it doesn't conflict with their movie schedules, and they will be in also. The Lecanto Park location, and the reason why it's only for 2 days, the event is actually from the 18th to the 22nd. The Lecanto Park, we appreciate the fact that you are giving us use of the Lecanto Park. However, it is a little bit too small for what we actually have to do. So trying to get an additional park or another park was, you know, not in the cards. So we would like you to also consider Wesley Jones Park or the Central Ridge Park for this event as well. We take safety very seriously. We work with the FAA. We have government relations that will also work with the FAA. So we would also be like to consider those 2 other locations as well. And also, I try to work with superintendent of schools because we like to bring in that STEM money, which I believe the governor even mentioned STEM money. So I would like to bring more of this into the community and to have more events. That's pretty much it.
Okay. If you want, I can step on your time and answer your question. It's totally up to you.
Okay.
And the only thing I'll point out to you is we don't make those decisions.
No.
Okay? So if you want to look at other parks, that's all staff. We're here to approve the contracts and the leases and the use agreements. Staff works out all the details. So if you wish another park or a different one, you need to go through staff with all that.
Okay.
All right? But thank you for what you're doing, and best of luck. Anyone else wish to speak on this issue? On the motion E19, anyone to speak? Okay, commissioners, anything else?
Do we need to read into the minutes that it's the 20th or 21st, or did the public comment handle that?
Well, that's up to them, because she actually said the 18th through the 22nd, so there's 3 dates
They
out there.
have it for the entire week, but these were, if they say the date of the race is the 20th and 21st, I mean, they would know best, but.
But they have it for that week, is what we're
Yes,
approving.
yes, sir.
Okay. So it's probably around the 18th to the 22nd, from what we're hearing, in those lines, right? Okay. Anything else, board?
Yes, sir. I put it in my calendar. I'm looking forward to
You're
it.
talking to the audience again.
I'm sorry, sir. You're right. Excuse me, pardon me. I'm looking forward to the event, and I put it in my calendar.
Very good, very good. Any other comments from the board? Okay, so on the motion made by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Slabaugh, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay, and that passes unanimously. E20, please.
Yes, approve and authorize chairman to execute the Hernando Beach use agreement between Citrus County, Florida and the Citrus County Education Foundation to allow the Dragon Boat Festival 2022 to be held at Hernando Beach on Saturday, November 5th. The boat ramp will be closed the evening of November 3rd, 2022 to allow for setup of the festival, which begins Friday, November 4th, 2022. The ramp will be reopened back on the evening of Saturday, November 5th, 2022. Obviously, that means that there won't be any boat launches that occur there.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
move
ma'am.
to approve E20.
Okay, Commissioner Slabaugh makes the motion,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment? Any further discussion from the board? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. E21, please.
Yes, approve and authorize the Groomsman LLC to film a documentary on real-life professional mermaid performers who work at Taylor's Mermaid Aquarium Encounter in Inverness. The film is scheduled on Wednesday, September 21st, 22 at Fort Island Gulf Beach.
Motion to approve E21.
Okay, Commissioner Davis makes the motion,
Second?
second by Commissioner Kennard. Any public comment? Board, anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. It passes unanimously. Ask Mr. Slavin to stick around. We'll do his business later. He's getting to see what an eclectic community we are, right? We went from drones, dragon boats, and now we just went to mermaids. So, you know, we have everything in this community. E22, please.
Yes, this is a request we're asking to apply for some additional Veterans Affairs supporting housing vouchers or housing choice voucher program. If we get it, this will add to our ability to be able to better serve the veterans. We would ask for approval of A and B.
Move for approval of E22A and B.
Second?
Okay, Commissioner Kernahan makes the motion, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment on this motion? Board, anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. And that passes unanimously. And E23, please.
Approve and authorize chairman to execute the commitment letter and local government verification of contribution form for SHIP loan of $340,000 for the Invictus Development Cardinal Oaks project. This was a recommendation of the Affordable Housing Committee.
Commissioners?
I'll make a motion to approve E23.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Kennard makes the motion, second by Commissioner Davis. Does anyone in the public have any comments on this? Commissioners, anything else? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay, and that passes unanimously. Item F, Mr. Oliver?
Yes, we would ask for the deletion of items 13 and 14 on the outstanding issues list.
Motion to approve item F minus 13 and 14.
Second.
Okay, so Commissioner Carr makes the motion, Commissioner Slaybaugh seconds. Public, is there anyone to speak on this motion? Commissioners, anything else?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I had asked Mr. Oliver where the bus stops were. And he was
I've
gonna
got
get
that
back to me.
information, and I'll put it on the next report if you want. They're ready to go to bid, and I've got the locations, but I'll put it on the list.
Okay,
All right.
so they're not completed.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion, discussion, anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. And that is unanimous as well. Let's hope we keep that smooth operation going here as we go into G1, which is the board selection candidates to interview. Board, give me a few minutes here to go through a couple of housekeeping things, bring the public up to speed on where we are, and then we will proceed. As you know, we hired Mr. Slavin and his firm to go out and do an executive search for the county administrator. For those in the public that aren't aware of what's happened to date, as Mr. Slavin has come in, he's met with the board members independently, individually, and compiled a matrix of what we all were looking for in the next administrator. As you know, Mr. Oliver is leaving in November. And he did a nationwide search, I believe, and came back with some selections, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But I just want to kind of go over a little bit of the housekeeping on this, and then we'll talk about the procedure. What we had agreed from the beginning, and Mr. Slavin will go into some more detail on that, but we felt it was important. We already talked about having the current board make the decision, but we also thought it was important to candidates that were looking at this position to know that the incoming commissioners or those who wish to participate that are still in the process would be here, and we would include them in that discussion so that when we complete our selection today, then we'll be able to move forward with former commissioners and future commissioners so that it becomes a seamless process. We have gone through every step of this. I'm very happy with what Mr. Slavin's done, and I've met with him several times talking about the process and what he's gone through. So let me just bring the public up to speed on what we're going to do. I'm going to have Mr. Slavin come up in a minute and go into detail for the commissioners. But what we have done is he's done his search. He's come up, I believe we got 25 applicants, 26 applicants. One person has has withdrawn. So out of 25 applicants, he's pretty much gone through and vetted these applicants, and he's come up with what he believes are 7 who meet, to some degree, our requirements that we've advertised for. So the first thing I'd like to do today, well, keep this in mind, Board, I don't need to ask you yet, I want to get everybody involved in here first, but we're going to have to do a couple steps along the way. So let me stop right here and invite Diana Finnegan and Commissioner-elect Rebecca Bays up front. We're going to invite them to sit in the front row. It's totally up to you all to participate in whatever level you want, but my intention today, from the very beginning, the board wanted you all involved in this process. And so as far as I'm concerned, you two folks are equal in vote and say to when we have this discussion. So we're going to ask for your input. We're going to ask, at the end, and even though the 5 up here will do the voting, before any voting's done, I'm going to ask, if you're in agreement with it or not or whatever. So we'll try to have a clear consensus as we move through this. And at the end of this, well, let me invite Mr. Slavin up, and he can tell us what he wants to say, and then he and I talk through the process. I think he's got a very good process ironed out, and we'll
Let me
proceed on that.
mention one thing, if
Yeah,
I may.
okay, yes.
Mr. Grogan was invited, but unfortunately, Mr. Grogan is out of town.
Okay.
But he was invited to participate also.
Okay, and yes, ma'am.
He just said what I wanted to
Oh,
make
okay.
sure you understood.
Yes, okay. Yes, we wanted folks here, we invited everyone to be here in person today to participate. We've been talking about this for quite a while. We've advertised it. The 2 folks have received the full packages, is that correct? The rating sheets, the resumes?
That I don't know.
I'm asking, yes. I'm asking
have.
them, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, you guys have, okay. All right, so, yes, sir.
I
Just
was
want to make
worried
sure
about
we're all
that.
on the same page. Yes, sir.
Great.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Commissioner-elect, I'm Bob Slavin, as you all know. Chairman pretty accurately described the process and what we've done and what the results have been. You have before you are the backgrounds on 7 individuals who were screened against the criteria that the Board of County Commissioners set with my help. And that became, as I've told each of them at the beginning of the process, that set of criteria became our Bible. Not everybody who's been a successful public executive, local government executive, would necessarily meet the criteria, because we looked a lot at style, at the unique characteristics of their experience, and that's how the 7 were selected from the 26. The one that didn't drop out because they had any concern about Citrus County, dropped out because in his present situation, conditions changed to where it became a more attractive place to stay. So the end today's meeting hopefully will result in discussion of after a discussion of the candidates, a narrowing of the 7 to a group of people that you all agree should move forward in the process. There is a date set for interviews, and that date is the 26th. And what we envision is bringing these people into Citrus County for in-person interviews, and as has been pointed out several times, including very clearly by the chairman, that process will include the new members of the commission, and that, I can't emphasize enough how important that is. It's obviously important to the commissioners, those who are here, commissioners now and the new commissioners, but it's also critical to the candidates. We probably, well, I know at least 2 of these folks wouldn't be here unless they knew that the new commissioners would be involved in a meaningful way. They want to meet, you folks want to meet the candidates want to meet the folks they're going to be working for. Mr. Chairman, we had discussed the possibility of opening this discussion up, you kind of chairing it to discuss each of the candidates, and then come to a decision about consensus as to which ones you want to continue in the process. The idea of interviewing 4 makes sense. In discussions with each of you earlier, I'm not sure that you would come up with the same 4 without a discussion. So I think that the idea of a discussion and then some kind of a ranking process would be what I would strongly recommend. There is a tally sheet that you've been provided, and that tally sheet asks you to rank the candidates 1 to 7, and it's useful for a couple of reasons. For one thing, it allows you to pretty clearly determine which candidates you're most interested in. It also allows you to determine which ones you have less interest in, but if you choose to use it, it is useful. If you choose to use it, I strongly recommend that you rank all 7 candidates 1 to 7, no ties, and don't leave anybody off, because if we because we tally it. And one of the things one of the tallying techniques is to add all the scores up and divide by the number of people who rate the candidates. If we get a mixture of rankings of fewer candidates than the full 7, it throws that arithmetic off. So I would ask that you do that, even if there's no reason, under no conditions would you hire somebody, I would rank that person. And you rank, it's like golf. You rank the first, the candidate that you are most interested in is number 1. The one that you're least interested in is number 7. What have I forgotten, Mr. Chairman?
I think you've pretty much covered it. I want to go through a couple issues, and please don't go too far, because
I'm not
as we do this, I want to get the board's, kind of consent here on what we're going to do. But also, I think, I can keep track of tally up here, all the board can as well, but I also think we ought to ask the attorney and you to be, keeping track as well, so that we know we all end up with the same score, okay?
Yes.
So I think that's a smart, and I know the clerk's going to be taking all this down as well. So that would be a good process.
It would be hard to make a mistake.
Yeah, we would hope not, okay? So here's what, as we work our way through this process, board, the first thing is, out of the 25 applicants, Mr. Slavin has pre-vetted 7. Let me point out one thing. No background checks have been done on any of these applicants. My understanding is we're not doing background checks on people that we're not particularly interested in interviewing, okay? So we're not going to pay for that. So keep that in mind. So the first thing that I would ask, is there anybody on this list that Mr. Slavin has not selected of the 7 that you are interested in talking about? Or can we start the discussion with the 7 that he has pre-vetted?
Start the discussion with
I mean, I'm good with the 7. Is there
I'm good-
anybody
I'm
else
good with
that wants somebody added to the 7 that's not in there? I had a few that, I'll tell you for myself, and I'm going to tell you the way I do it. I'm going to leave it up to you all individually, what you want to do when it comes to this. But I did my own matrix, and of the 25, I went through and did a first ranking, then I did a second ranking and picked my top 10. And when Mr. Slavin's list came in, he originally gave us 6, now up to 7. All 7 of his were in my top 10. So I'm in agreement across the board with what he had. So I don't have a problem just working with those 7. I did have a couple that he didn't recognize. I asked him about it. He went into detail, and I fully understood it. Again, we all might be looking for different things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and list who my top 7 are, and then and tell you a little bit why. I'm not going to go into great detail. And again, this is all based, let's keep this in mind, this is all based on what we have in a resume. These may change. This happened when we hired Mr. Oliver. We, I think, interviewed 4 or 5 people. We ranked them. We had them come in, meet with us individually. That ranking changed after they did that. That's probably normal. Then they came and did their public presentation, and then that ranking changed again. So until the final process is done, commissioners make their own decisions based on who they think did better in some areas. And in other words, what I'm saying is, somebody might look really, really good on paper, and when you sit down and talk with them, I just don't think this is a good fit. And that's what this process is all about. So with that said, you can go into detail why you're listing them the way you are. You don't have to, and when it's done, it's not about being unanimous. In other words, my top list, my top number one person might not even come in the top four. That's just the way it goes. That's what we're going to be dealing with, and we'll try to go through in numbers. And again, I'll leave it up to each individual person, what they want to say, how they want to say it. But what I've really done is I set up a matrix that looked at past administrative experience, preferably at the county level, but Florida cities would count as well if they were large enough. I looked at when, in other words, how recently. Florida experience, very important to me. Education, what their degrees are and what they're in. And I also looked at the population of the cities or counties that they served, looked at the budgets that they oversaw, and the number of employees. And then as my last category, I preference people with fiscal backgrounds and business backgrounds, but that doesn't weight as high as those other words. So that was the weighting scale I took, okay? So with that said, I'll go ahead and give you my list, and then we'll go down, whoever wants to go first. So my list, for whoever's keeping track of this, besides myself, number 1 was Larry Jones. Number 2 was Stanley Hawthorne. Number 3 was Leonard Sossaman. Number 4 was Steve Howard. Number 5 was James Drum. Number 6 was Rick Rudamithkin, and number 7 was Toby Phillips. And I based those rankings purely on what I just talked about, the matrix I just said. One other thing, Commissioners, I just want to make it very clear, I have met with none of these applicants, okay? Hopefully, none of you have met with any of these applicants, okay? So, because I think that would really taint the pool if we had, because if you meet with 1 or 2, then you're really compelled to meet with all of them and give everybody the same opportunity. So, with that said, there's my rankings. I jumped out first. Who would like to go next?
I'll jump out second. I'm just going to give you, I'm not going to go through and rank them 1 to 7. I don't think that's fair to anybody.
Well, we need a number.
I'm going to give you my top 4. First, that's what I would like to know is I would like for this board to determine how many we're going to interview. There's 3 that come to the top immediately for me that I would interview. If you want to go 4, I'll go 4. But there's 3 that hands down stand out with the matrix. I pretty much use the same matrix you did, same matrix that we hired Mr. Oliver with. And that's Larry Jones, Leonard Solomon, and Steve Howard. Those are the 3 that rose to the top for me.
But the issue is, as Mr. Slavin explained, even if you don't want to interview anybody else, you got to give them a number because it's going to throw off the score. If you don't give them a number, that's a 0, and in golf, that's higher than a 1, right? So you're literally ranking people higher.
Mr. Chair, I get that, but I'm trying to, so we're just going to rank them off of experience in the resumes, correct?
That's where
All
we're
right,
at,
that's
right?
fine. So I got Larry Jones, Leonard Solomon.
Okay,
Steve Howard.
go slow so I can write these down.
Larry Jones.
Just a second. So,
And this is basically based on the experience, based on their education, and the whole 9
right.
yards.
So your number 1 is Larry Jones?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'll tell you one other metrics that was I based it on also was economic development and how some of these applicants did economic development in their counties, and some of them have been very successful. So it's Larry Jones,
Okay.
Leonard Solomon,
Solomon, you said for 2?
Steve Howard,
Okay, Steve Howard for
James
3.
Drum,
Drum for 4.
Stanley Hawthorne,
5.
Rick Rudiment,
That'd be 6.
and Toby Phillips.
And 7. Okay. Thank you. Who'd like to go next? Anybody? Commissioner Kennard. Okay.
If we could hire Vince Long today, I think all of us would,
Absolutely.
right? 27 years ago, Leon County did not go looking for the person who has decades of experience. They went looking for somebody who's on the uphill climb of their career, who's got the knowledge of the landscape who interacts with people well, knows that he's not going to accomplish everything that he has over the decades of his career based on his abilities, but on his abilities to work with, motivate, and encourage his directors and those around him. That's how I approach this. Certainly experience came into the equation, but I wanted somebody who is going to be our rock star administrator 10, 20 years from now that people are trying to hire away from us. So with that said, I will tell you that my rankings are Toby Phillips, #1, Jones, #2, Howard, 3, Hawthorne, 4.
Easy.
Howard, 3,
Howard, 3, Hawthorne, 4, okay,
Drum, 5,
okay.
Rudo Metkin, and Sossaman, #7.
Okay, so 6 would be Rudimetkin and 7 would be Sossaman.
Yes.
Okay, very
I
good.
didn't get his font, fifth.
Okay, he has him as Drum 5, Hawthorne 4, Howard 3, Jones 2, Phillips 1, Rudimetkin 6, and Sossaman 7. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Who would like to go next? Anybody?
will.
Okay,
I will.
Commissioner Slater.
I didn't expect to do this like this, but we are.
How would
so
you like to do it?
I thought that, I wasn't sure. I didn't expect this.
Okay.
This is my first time, so I had really no expectations, but I did not expect this. So, that being said, I went off of, Florida experience, population, if they are sitting in an administrative capacity right now, how many employees, obviously, that they have overseen, and the length of stay at different positions that they have been, if they've traveled around a lot. So that my ranking just off of resumes are James Drum, Toby.
Is that, give me number
Number one.
1, James Drum.
James
okay.
Drum, 2, Toby Phillips,
Mhm.
3, Rick Rudimenkin,
Rudimetkin, 3,
Howard,
4,
Hawthorne, Jones, and Sossaman.
6, and 7. Okay, thank you very much. Who would like to go next? We're down to 3.
Well.
Commissioner Davis?
I was about to say, I think I'm going next. I used the same criteria you did, Mr. Chair. I also tried to get a sense of the flavor of their responses to our questions, their personality, things like that. I've moved things around this morning after some additional discussions with Mr. Slavin and also my own rereading of everything this morning. I also agree with Commissioner Kennard about looking at somebody who is on the upswing of their career. And I do believe I heard from Mr. Long that he has been, that he is willing to mentor Ms. Phillips. So for those two reasons, I would absolutely put Ms. Phillips as my #1.
You heard from who that would do that?
Vince Long.
What's he have to do with this?
Well, I only brought it up because Commissioner Kennard did, and this was a conversation months ago.
Yeah, but we made no agreement to go out and hire somebody to mentor our county
It's
administrator.
not a paid relationship.
Okay, all
It's
right,
not a paid
okay, okay,
relationship.
all right.
I talk to my mentor at least every month, and I don't pay him for that. #2, Jones. #3 is either higher or 7th, depending on what happens downstream, which is Sossaman.
So, okay, so 3 is Sossaman, is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
only
Okay.
because, as you said, things may completely change after the background checks and the interview process and everything
okay.
else. 4, I have Howard. 5, I have Hawthorne. I liked him quite a bit. I only moved him down due to maybe not being big city experience, maybe not a good fit with our county. but I like him very much. So in my mind, I have no interest in interviewing Drum or Rita Metkin. Not that they're not great people, just that we have to winnow it down. And so I would be fine with interviewing up to 5, but
Well, why don't you give one a 6 and one a 7 and,
I list them in order. Drum is 6 and Rita
Okay.
Metkin is 7.
okay. All right, so we got your 7. Okay, Commissioner-elect Bays, would you like to go next, or would you like to defer to Ms. Finnegan? It's up to you, whatever. Again, by the way, Commissioners, I appreciate the background as to what led in your selections. I think that'll help Mr. Slavin. Yes, ma'am. Welcome, take your time.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
After review and looking at everything and based on the criteria that myself and Mrs. Finnegan or Mr. Grogan, in my opinion, were not a part of the participation for the option of how to decide on criteria to hire this person, I'm not going to be ranking any of these. Again, as I said earlier, I believe that it is prudent that the new board being seated hire this next administrator that would fit the quality and the criterias of how we like to administer. And I would, again, encourage you to look to hiring, whether it's one of these candidates to be an interim, but I oppose the idea of hiring somebody right now because, as we all know, there's only 2 people that work for the board. That's the administrator and the attorney. And if this new board doesn't resonate with that administrator, then you're in a position that you have to pay severance pay. And I am opposed to that. I think that it is the due diligence of this board to defer hiring a permanent administrator. Thank you very much.
Well, don't go anywhere, because with all due respect, you're dodging here, okay? You have been invited here for the very reason you've stated, okay? You're part of this selection committee because whoever is hired will be working for you. So you can't say, I don't want in the process, and then somebody gets hired and you say, I had nothing to do with it. So this is your opportunity because you are going to get to interview these people. It's not like we're going to make some arbitrary decision and you're going to be stuck with them. You get to decide who you want to interview, okay? And the only thing this is going to do is skew the whole process where you'll be able to sit back and say, oh, don't blame me. I didn't pick anybody, or I said don't do it. This board has been united for the last months that this is the process we're going to take. So I would be very, very discouraged if you're going to start off by saying, I don't want any part of the direction that we've taken to do this, okay? None of us got everything we wanted up here. None of us got the process that we wanted. We came up with the best compromise we could. So if you don't vote, that's fine. That's your option. But I asked Mr. Slavin, then we divide it by 6 if Mrs. Finnegan decides to participate instead of 7. Is that the way we would proceed? Okay. So again, I'm giving you the final option. Either you're in and you
Chairman
can...
Kitchen, I appreciate what you're
Okay,
saying, but
okay.
again, I will not be a part of being able to negotiate a contract. I would only be a part of being
No,
able
ma'am,
to put
come on.
my input in on this. And I just think that it's an inappropriate action for this board to take to hire an administrator that a new board is going to be seated with and have to live
Then
with.
have not
Thank you
been-
very much.
You've not been listening, ma'am. Don't run off on me. You will be involved in every part of the process. What about that didn't you understand? Okay, it'd be nice if you'd move over so I could see you, okay? You're going to stand behind Mr. Slavin. Mr. Slavin, would you move so I can see Commissioner Bays? You're going to be a part of every part of the process. You'll be here for the discussion about the selection. You'll be here for the discussion about the contract. You're not going to be left out of any of it, okay? So your argument doesn't hold water. I just want that to be clear, okay?
Again, I appreciate what you're saying, but it is specifically your leadership that I disagree with in the hiring and the way that you attract and design, and you want to participate. And that's what I disagree with.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you're throwing the county under the bus because of your personal feeling. Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, I don't disagree with Ms. Bays. I mean, I know we have gone through a process, but I don't disagree with what she's saying whatsoever. I know when we come in as a board, that was the process, and you know, I didn't look back and think about that until some of the things that were said today. And we got, and again, I know they're a part of this, but I don't disagree with what she's saying, and I could live with putting an interim in until the new board was seated and they pick it. I mean, I don't have an issue with that.
Oh, my gosh. I can't believe you said that. I cannot,
I
cannot.
don't really care what you believe I said
know,
or didn't
I
say,
know,
okay?
okay,
Here's
all
what I'm gonna tell you. They're here, okay, and she's speaking her piece, and she's not throwing the county under the bus. She's giving her advice on what she thinks she should be done as a new elected commissioner. So I disagree with that.
Okay, have you completed your statement? Now, what I'm
Yes.
saying is what I can't believe you said is from all along, you said no interim, no interim. This board will select an administrator. That's what I'm saying. Now, all of a sudden, you're saying
I said,
interim.
what I said is, I understand her position, and if this board decided to go that way, I could support that position. Okay,
Okay,
if
very
this
good.
board decides to move forward to hire someone, I get that, okay? But again, she gave her opinion on what the process should be, so I think this board should recognize that as a elected official that will be seated here in November. I'm gonna give her that.
Okay, that's fine. And I just want to give her every opportunity to be in the process. Mrs. Finnegan, your option. You want to be involved or don't you? Okay, please come forward and tell us what you think.
Thank you all for the opportunity to allow me to be a part of this and be here today. Having interviewed people before, albeit not at this level, of course, I do feel like if the board had decided to wait, that would have been a decision previously. It worries me to delay that when you have talent on the table, because I always feel like when you throw that out there and then you see good people that you like, they may not wait for you. But of course, that would be the board's decision. So how I looked at it was the positions that people held, their general experience in administration, education played in that, size of employees and budgets. Although my very first pick did have a population and a budget smaller than Citrus County, I did feel that Larry Jones felt to me the most like Citrus County because the answers that he gave seemed like he's handled so many of the things that we're looking forward to with the economic development, and he has dealt with strategic planning and the stormwater planning and lobbying for money for those things. So Larry Jones is number one. Number two, I chose Leonard Sussman. Number three, Stanley Hawthorne. Number four, James Drum. Number five, Steve Howard. Number six, Toby Phillips. And number seven, Rick Rudo-Metkin. And just, I explained why I would choose Larry Jones first. The very last person, he just didn't have any Florida experience whatsoever. And I think that, yes, it was very small government also. So just to kind of give the comparison.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the only one of the seven who had no Florida experience.
Right.
Correct, yes.
And I do feel like that's important, albeit if it wasn't our county, I mean, they understand Florida and our tourism and how the state works. So I do feel like that's very important.
Okay, so anything that anybody else wants to add? I think Commissioner Carnahan started off with saying, how many are we looking at? I agree. I think 4 should be plenty from the applicants that we have, but we'll have to see how they rank. Has anybody been doing a tally to see how they rank out? I guess we can see how they rank, and then we can see, I trust Mr. Oliver's calculator there.
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't do it?
No, I didn't do it.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Grogan, by the way, gave his selections via email, and
Okay, I guess we could do this, if this is public record and he sent an email of this, can we include him in this Is he going to be here for the interviews as well?
I think he said he wasn't going to be back till October 1st.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I don't understand, no disrespect, but again, this is my first process. I understand Commissioner Bays is the commissioner-elect, but I don't understand this. I don't understand, are they going to get a vote? The two candidates get a vote on?
They get just as much as Commissioner-elect Bays in the fact that we wanted their input because Commissioner Bays has been elected, and either Mr. Grogan or Mrs. Finnegan will be. So one of those two will be working with whoever we select. That's why they've all been invited. That's why I said that before, that they were all going to be invited. And they all have been invited, but Mr. Grogan couldn't be here. So he sent his rankings by email. So I guess what I'm asking for is, I think we should include his rankings since he sent them in, and we'll have 7 back to 7 again. Does that seem appropriate to Mr. Slavin?
Yes.
Okay. Because there is the possibility that he could be here in November as well, too. So we should include him for the same reasons, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that's where we're at.
Mr. Chair, would you
Yes.
tell me what his votes are?
Yes,
so
I will, so we can read it into the record. I just want to make sure we're clear on the process, okay? And I'll write these down as well. So he has Jones 1. He's got Phillips 2. He has Sasselman 3. He's got Drum as 4. He's got, let's see, Hawthorne as 5. He's got, oh no. So he's got Jones again as 6, and he already has Jones as 1, so now I'm confused, so.
Let me make sure I wrote it down correctly.
Yes, please do. Let's make sure we got the names. I got up through 5 as Hawthorne. Seven would be
Yeah, he
Richard.
is, okay, it's Jones was first, Phillips was second, Sosserman was third, Drum was fourth, Hawthorne was fifth, Jones he listed again as sixth, and Rudmankin is seventh.
Okay, so he doesn't even have Howard on here. So the question would be,
Is Howard 1 or 6?
is Howard 1 or 6? So I don't know. Seeing that that was the last Jones on there, unless anybody has a problem, I'm going to just give Mr. Howard his 6. Is that a problem? I mean,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yes.
okay, what do you want to do with it?
I have a problem with all of this at this point. We have 2 county commissioner, you're counting 3 people that are going to be up here, and only 2 of them are going to be up here. So that's problem number 1.
Okay, well, let's do-
Problem number 2 is we're making up his answers when he didn't actually proof what he's emailed. And this is just all bad. I'm the one who went where angels feared to tread a long time ago, and I said, I really, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I really do, Mr. Chair, as he sighs, I honestly appreciate your experience in having done this and done very well with Randy. I really do.
Can you tell us
And-
what you want to do? Please just tell
and
us
I-
what you want to do.
And I really respect the other commissioner, Carnahan, who has gone through this as well. This really ought to be flipped on its head, and all of this we should go all the way up to the hiring decision, and the new board, once the election is done and they are seated, needs to make the decision.
And that's arguing the past. We've been through that.
Well, you've
And-
had multiple people
Okay.
already say that today, and I'm telling you
Well,
again that that's what I
there's-
believe.
Okay, thank you. There's nothing like staying this way the whole way through and then everybody throwing this out the window at the last minute, okay? We chose to do this because multiple times during the path, we were going to go a different way. We said, no, we're going to stick with this. Now here, my thinking is we can't accept Mr. Grogan because we don't know what he wants to say, okay? Madam Attorney, would you
He
agree?
sent an
He's-
email in and said Howard is sixth.
He must be watching.
Okay, are we okay then, Madam Attorney? You're convinced this is him on the phone, this is him sending emails?
It's from the email account I've been sending him.
Okay, so I'm going to give Mr. Howard a 6. That's what he said, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so now we have 6 people that have made selections. So to me, it's only fair we do 1 or 2 things. We've included them. Commissioner-elect Bays has chose of her own volition not to participate. So we can either go back to the 5 original sitting commissioners, or as Mr. Slavin, and we said from the very beginning, it's very important to have people that'll be on board in the future to participate in the process. So I think we're there. I think the way I see it, we have 7 numbers to count, and we should be counting. Then we'll determine if we want to bring in 4, 5, 6, or 7 people to interview, I guess.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I do not agree with counting the 7 that you have gotten, because Commissioner Bays will be sitting on this board, and she had some valid points. And I noticed that the 3 of us that will be continuing on this board had opposite rankings of you two, the 2 commissioners that will be leaving, and I just feel like it'll be going against even what Commissioner Bays, we don't know what she wants, because she has a valid point. She has that right not to participate in this. So I just think that this is a hot mess.
Well, I would disagree. I would think that people are allowed to disagree, and it has to do with political philosophy. It's not the first time that perhaps Commissioner Carnahan and I have disagreed with you. So, and I'm sure that that's why voters select people that they do based on their political philosophy. So perhaps, and again, with Commissioner Bays, we don't know, because she didn't express her opinion. So, again, you all have day one agreed on this procedure. Mr. Slavin is standing in front of us today because you've agreed on this procedure. So what I can see to do, and again, I can see to do this, we thank, seeing though Commissioner-elect Bays has pulled out, we thank Mrs. Finnegan for being here, and we disregard her selections as well, and we come back to the 5 sitting commissioners. We could do that. That eliminates the unknown factor of who's going to be up here and who's not. Because my point was, of those 3, 2 will be. Okay? So that's the whole issue. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I agree with you. A lot of times you and I are on opposite ends of the spectrum. But today what I saw was Commissioner Carnahan being on the opposite end of the spectrum from you. And that is what is concerning me.
well, that happens. Commissioner Carnahan and I in 8 years have disagreed more than once. So.
Right, I understand that. I mean, obviously, but I just feel like he was pretty passionate about what he said.
Okay, hold on just a second. Are we going to follow the process or are we not? From what we started back when we can remember now, let's play back history because everybody has a memory of convenience. We got Randy to stay because we agreed to follow this process, okay? We agreed to get a professional search to hire the best qualified person that applies, and we can't even get to that because we can't even now agree on who should be involved in the process. So I don't have a problem with taking 5, 6, or 7, tallying them up and inviting those people in, because I think after those interviews take place, then this board will get a better feel for who that person should be. And my problem that I expressed to Commissioner-elect Bays was I believe she would too, once she went through the interview process with these people. She might not like any of them, she might like some of them, but we don't know if they don't go through the process. So, Mr. Slavin, got any thoughts here? I'm not throwing this on you, but you've done what we've asked you to do. We have a little, you agreed for our reasonings that the folks that potentially could be setting up here when the new administrator is hired should be making a decision. You said 2 of these applicants wanted to make sure that the people that they were going to be working for were involved in the process. So that's why this board all along has agreed to that. So.
Well, I have spoken with the candidates about this, and they are pretty adamant that they know ahead of time who they're going to be working for. So the idea of having the newly elected or soon-to-be elected commissioners involved in that process on an equal basis would satisfy their interest. How the voting occurs and who votes for who and how those of you who are leaving the commission vote compared to those who are staying, that's kind of a political turf that it's up to you. But my advice is, first of all, I am concerned that if we wait until November, we will lose some of these people. That's just a fact. That's not a threat and it's not a concern. We can start again. The job is really open till filled. So whatever decision you make, I can live with and I can help you with. But I think the process has been a cohesive process. I think you've got some good candidates. My advice would be to go through with the interviews, and then make a decision as to whether or not you like the candidates well enough to make a decision.
We might like some, we might not like any of them, correct?
That's,
And
and
as I
that
said-
does happen.
And as I said, what I come back to is somebody that I ranked high now and low now, that might flip completely after the interviews and the other processes go through. So this is just about who to bring in. So I would
Well,
like,
that's right. That's
I would
right.
like us to continue and see if we come up with 3 or 4 or whatever names rise to the top that we bring in the interview, and we go from there. We're this far in, why not complete it? And if you guys want to fire whoever we hire and bring in somebody that you like after November, that's always, that's always a board's prerogative. But that's why we should have everybody involved in the process so that the people we hire, or the person we hire, knows that everybody was in the process. That was my whole point. Yes, sir.
And again, I'm gonna agree with that, but here's what I can say. When Randy was going to leave, we were gonna have to pay him a severance package. So the great thing was we worked out a deal for him to stay until we hired somebody. So if we hire someone and negotiate a deal and we fire them, you're gonna be paying a lot of money out in a severance package.
Absolutely.
So that caught my attention, and so.
It depends.
But
on what we-
I'll move through, if we want to keep moving through the process, I think we only interview 3. I don't think there's no sense in interviewing 5 and 6 and 7, and I think that's just a waste of time.
Okay.
That's where
Mr.
I'm
Chair?
at.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Commissioner
I'm s-
Kennard.
I'm sorry, I thought Commissioner
I'm
Cronin.
done, yes, sir, I'm done, thank you.
No.
I'm gonna say very little about this, other than we agreed on the process. When the newspaper requested, did a records request for all of the applicants and all the resumes, that was in advance of, that was jumping ahead of what we're supposed to be doing with our process. I wish that we would have stuck with our process then, and not getting out ahead of ourselves. I hope that we will stick with the process now. If we don't, I feel like we have absolutely wasted the taxpayers' money.
Okay.
This has all been money, time, and effort completely wasted. So I would like to see us go through with the interviews. If we're going to interview 3 or 4 people, I'd like to see us do that. If we don't like any of them, we don't have to pick any of them.
That's right.
Right.
But predictability is something that this board has got to get now and in the future. When we say we're going to do something, we need to do it. When we pick a process and say this is how we're going to get to where we want to go, we need to stick with the process. We shouldn't be changing with a different wind that comes through, or heading down these different rabbit trails. That's unpredictable. It's not good for this board. It's not good for our community. So I would like to see us stick with the process, and, whether we interview 3 or 4 of them, I'm fine with that.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Davis?
Somebody needs to check my math, but the way I'm looking at it is we have a group of 3 that are below a total score of 20. I didn't do the math on getting the decimal points. Jones got 12, Howard and Phillips tied at 2, tied for second with 18. And then we have another grouping that is very tight. Hawthorne and Drum tied for 4th with 21. Sossaman was only at 22. So I would make a motion that we interview either the first 3 or the first 6, because once you go below the 3 into those that are tied for 4th, then we really ought to do number 6 as well.
Well, let's give everybody the math. So who's been running the total? You got the total for Drum?
Jones is 12.
Just a second, I'm asking
So
Mr.
you're adding
Slavin.
points, or you're giving the average?
I just did the total points because it's
Right.
easier.
Yeah, I want Mr. Slavin, since we hired him, he's the expert, to read
Well,
into the
Yes,
record,
sir.
but
I've been trying to add while I listen, so
Right.
I'm not a reliable source at this point. I do have the numbers, but has anybody else done
okay.
tallying?
Colleen Scott, Colleen Scott, come to the microphone and read the numbers into the record, okay? If there was
Colleen, I
ever a
made a
doubt, it's somebody
spreadsheet.
with the numbers, so.
So we backed out the Commissioner-elect. So we have
Yes.
Jones at 12.
Okay, just a second here. Okay, I was trying to run down the sheet in numerical order, but that, I mean, from the
Oh.
top to bottom, but that's
Okay.
okay. So Jones at 12, okay?
Phillips at 18.
Mm-hmm.
Howard at 18.
Howard at 18.
Hawthorne at 21.
Mm-hmm.
Drum at 21.
Dermot, 21,
Sossaman at 22.
22,
And the Ruda Metkin at 28.
28.
Where
Okay.
was,
Now, what about the average? Did you come up with an average, or we don't need that?
I
We
don't
don't
think you need it.
Okay. Yeah.
Steve Howard?
I had Howard at 18.
18.
Drum?
Drum is 21.
So to compare notes, you're saying, and Ms. Davis, you had the same thing, Commissioner Davis, 21 for Drum, 21 for Hawthorne, 18 for Howard, 12 for Jones, 18 for Phillips, 28 for Rudimentkin, and 22 for Sossaman. That's what everybody said. Everybody's on the same page with all those? Okay. So Commissioner Davis said either invite in the top 3 or the top 6. So what's your recommendations?
Because that's-
Three?
Three.
Okay. So the top 3, the way I see it, would be,
Mr. Chairman, I had asked for
Yes.
a question before.
I'm sorry, you're right. I'm trying to do math and talk at the
I
same
get
time.
that. What I'm curious about is, yes, we want to follow the process. We've all been on the same page with the process, 5-0, process. But did our process have somebody sending in their requests through email? That's where I'm having the problem. And if nobody has that problem, fine, but that's not following the process. That's just messing up the numbers.
Well, the process said that the people that potentially could be here in November would be involved in the process. That's it. So that's why I asked, can we accept this? It came from the email that we sent the invitation to, so. And I guess we could ask if that is a big issue with people, does it change the standings if we strike the one person's ratings? I mean, we could go back and look at that. How, yes, ma'am?
I only added 5 votes.
You only
Who
had-
are we striking?
Oh, I was saying it, no, not, there should have been 6. We counted, the 5 up here, and we counted Mrs. Finnegan.
No, sir.
Oh, I didn't add Mrs. Finnegan.
Mr. Chair, my understanding, the reason is what we just did, my understanding of the discussion was that we, and I believe you're the one who said it, that we were going to pull back to just the
No, I
5
said-
seated commissioners.
No, I said that was an option. I said either we could do that, but then the rest of the story was, we go against what Mr. Slavin has been saying, and that is, these folks want to know the people they're going to be working for have been involved in the process. That means we need to keep these folks involved in the process. That's what I said. So, now,
I didn't add those, so if we want those added, did you add those?
so you
Okay.
included all 6.
Then,
Did not.
Okay, so what is your numbers if you, so if you include the, Mr. Grogan and Mrs. Finnegan, what do your numbers come up
Okay.
to be then?
So Jones is number 1 at 13.
Okay,
Howard is 2 at 23.
Howard, 2 at 23.
Then you have 3 tied.
Okay, which is,
Hawthorne, Phillips, Sossaman at 24.
Phillips, 24, Hawthorne, 24. It's awesome.
And Sossaman,
Okay.
24. And then Drum is 25, and Ruda Metkin is 35.
Okay.
so if we want 3, then we could only do Howard and Jones for an interview because you have 3 that are tied for third.
Or we can pick between those 3 who you want to be the other third.
You can go vote again if you want.
Yeah, we could do that. Why don't we do this? If we're in agreement with 1 and 2, then we can vote again on number 3. We could do that. And of the remainders, who would be your number 1? That would get us
All right,
there as well.
who are tied at 3?
Hawthorne, Phillips, and Sussman.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir?
the one that I really don't have an interest in interviewing
Mm-hmm.
is Sossaman.
I don't either.
Okay, so we can, if everybody's in agreement with that, we can eliminate it from the list. Is that okay? Anybody disagree with that? Okay. So,
I would like to interview Toby Phillips. One, it saves taxpayer money, and I think she has the population experience working with the public.
okay,
Just for an interview.
Okay, hold on, I appreciate that. Hold on just for a second now. Have we jumped to the second step? Are we in agreement with the numbers of number 1 and number 2, and we're looking to promote a number 3? Is that where we're at?
That's what you had asked for.
That's what I asked, but I never got an answer, so I
Yeah,
want to make.
I'm in agreement with 1 and 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
so number 1, Mr. Slavin, according to the tally, is?
Larry Jones,
Larry Jones, okay. Number 2, according to the tally,
Steve Howard,
Steve Howard. And number 3 that is tied, our choices are going to be Toby Phillips and
Hawthorne, Stanley Hawthorne.
Hawthorne.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
to break the tie, all you have to do is look at what the 5 seated commissioners said, which is Jones, Howards, and Phillips, so it's the same.
Okay.
That's an easy,
That's fine.
that's an
Okay.
easy thing to do.
I have no problem with that, if nobody else does.
Yep, I don't have a problem with that.
Anybody up and
Right.
down the board?
Jones, Howard, and Phillips are the 3?
Okay, and would we rank them that way? Jones 1, Howard 2, and 3, as of right now, just for selection purposes? It doesn't matter, because this is all going to change once we start all over. So those are our top 3?
Yes, sir.
We're in agreement? We're going to invite those 3 to come in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Slavin, what else do we need to do?
Well, I need to get a hold of these 3 and make sure they're still interested. I think they are. My question is Hawthorne an optional candidate in the event that we lose one of the top 3?
Yes, for me.
Yeah, I think we should keep them all in the mix. If we lose any of the top 3, then we move up, the next one or whatever.
Well, that's an interesting point, because I could, it doesn't cost a whole bunch of money to do background work on 5 people, except that I heard what I did a minute ago. I see 4 active candidates. I would do background work on all 4. And begin it tomorrow, so that we're done with, I have a lot of it completed by the time you interview. You may not, some of this takes a while. We use a professional service to do the background work, and they have to access court records, and depending on the level of technology of the various courts, court systems in places, in counties where these folks live, it can take a few days. And then we do referencing too, and sometimes reference calls take a while to get back. But we will know, hopefully it'll all be done by the 26th. And I know for sure we'll know enough about each of them to be pretty confident as to whether they'll pass the entire.
So what you're recommending basically is to have 4 that are their potential candidates that you think, as you said, active candidates, and you'll do background checks on those 4.
That's right.
We'll invite the top 3, and if they all come, then we'll hold back on number 4, or are you recommending we go ahead and do 4 interviews instead of 3?
I'm recommending you do 4 instead of 3.
I'm good.
And your 4th one is?
Hawthorne.
Hawthorne, Stanley Hawthorne.
He tied, he's a.
Yeah, it's tied in there. I'm good with that. I mean, we're going through the process, one more person. We can give them each, even at that, we could give them each an hour if they needed it and get through it in 4 hours. I mean, so, everybody okay with that?
In terms of that process, what are you thinking? It is not unusual because of the public records laws and open meetings laws in Florida that each of you would spend individual time with the candidates, and then there'd be a interview here in this room.
Our plan was, Mr. Slavin, was to interview them on the 26th, which is Monday, individually, okay, and the schedules would be set up. And again, I guess if Commissioner Bays isn't involved in this, we'd again invite Mr. Grogan. He won't be here, he said, but we can invite him. But those would be the individual meetings. And then on Tuesday, the 27th, that is when the board is going to be asked to make a decision between those 3 candidates as to who they want to, if they want to offer it to anybody, that's the day that we would do it. But we would ask them to make a public presentation, so we might give them 10 or 15, I mean, you think 10, 15 minutes enough per candidate's enough? I mean, we can do it in
Yes.
40 minutes to an hour if we do that.
So you're talking about round-robin interviews with each of you and each of the candidates, maybe on the 26th, and the
26th.
public interviews on the 20?
No, on the 27th, there'd be a regular board meeting. We'd do the board meeting on the 27th, and we'd have them, give them priority. We would do that business as quick as we could, and then the board at that date would, if there was an offer made, that's when they would make the decision on who to offer to. Does that sound good to you?
Yes, it does.
You okay with that? Everybody still good with that?
I just want to make sure that Commissioner Bays Commissioner-elect Bays, sorry, I couldn't get that out, is involved with those interviews.
She's been invited, that's what I said.
Okay,
So
just wanna-
she's invited in the process, has been, so.
Who are the other two? There's somebody whose name keeps being mentioned who's going to be out of town until October. Who's
That's
that?
Mr. Grogan, who's also, but again, we made the invitation, so it's, you know.
He's a commissioner-elect, or is he?
No, he's a candidate. He's still a candidate. We have
He's a candidate, okay.
we have a general to go through, okay? So we've invited
He
both
may
people.
change his schedule. I will communicate with him and make the same offer that you made to all the others.
But I think I mentioned to Doug when he sets the interviews up to include everybody in that, of the potential 8 people, that they all would be included in the scheduling.
That's great.
Okay? That way, whoever wins in November, they've all been in the process, okay?
Yeah.
They've been invited to it, so.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you given any consideration to weighting meaning WEIGHT, weighting the various rankings from various folks? So, for example, we know what the odds are of who's going to win the November election.
I was going to go there.
Yeah, but you can't do that.
But we
I-
don't
I
know
went-
that, and so I do have sort of an existential problem with inviting someone who's not officially a commissioner-elect. One way potentially around that is to, if I could do a do-over on today, is to have, because there's no sunshine violation between Ms. Finnegan and Mr. Grogan, if they had come up with their answer, or it's weighted by half or whatnot, average their answers, and then that's what had gone forward. Again, we still have a general election to go through.
And one of
Right?
them, yeah, excuse me.
Okay, and then, so that's a real problem I have with somebody who, one of the two of them is not going to be elected, and we are weighting them the same as seated commissioners and Commissioner-elect Bays. So that's a problem. And then we have 2 commissioners who have a lot, extraordinary experience in hiring Mr. Oliver, who are leaving. So, to my mind, math fixes all of this. The 4 that are definitely going forward are Kennard, Schleba, Bays, and Davis. And so the 4 of us, that would give, and I'm looking at this from an applicant standpoint, they need to feel comfortable that that they have the support of at least 4 of the 5 members of the board. And I do want to hear from Ms. Finnegan. So I'm not I'm not dismissing that at all. I'm just saying we're in a real pickle with inviting people who are not officially commissioners-elect to do this.
Well, I would disagree,
So-
and I'll tell you why I disagree, because this is another maneuver to cut Commissioner Carnahan and I out of the process. And we've been through this many, many times. I'm not backing down on being part of the process. He can speak for himself, but I don't believe he would at this point either. My point was, it's important to have people that are going to be on this board in November involved in the process. That's why we did this. We did it from the very beginning, okay? And we've explained it over and over again. Now, it's up to you how much weight you put on them. If you want to say, I really respect Commissioner Kennard's opinion, and I've looked at how he's weighted these candidates, but I don't put that same weight on Mr. Grogan or Mrs. Finnegan, that's your call. You can do that, okay? That's what we're supposed to decide, you know? When we listen to arguments from one another, we try to listen to the logical arguments. And it's, you know, and again, all I'm concerned with is getting us the best quality candidate. And if we start cutting people out and say, well, this person voted for somebody I didn't like or whatever, you know, that works great until you're on the losing side of the weighted formula, you know. And so I'm not changing the rules in the middle of the game. We've invited all the potential people. of those 3, 2 of them definitely will be here, okay? So I can say that. So what you're doing then is saying, well, you're not going to give the same weight to one of the other 2 that will definitely be here. So we've gone this far, let's just follow the process through, we'll come up with 4, and after you do the interviews, it might be a slam dunk. You know, everybody might be in agreement for candidate A, B, or C, or it might not be, and then we go through another round of discussion. I think you've raised a valid point. I don't think the fact that Mr. Grogan wasn't here to explain his selections the way other people were, okay? So that means something to me. And the fact that we couldn't even get the names correct on the first thing, that means something to me. Yeah, you know, so there's weight involved in it, but, you know, we got to keep, I've promised everybody that was in the election, win or lose, they would be given, or win, that's moving forward, that they would be given the same fair treatment, and they would be involved in the process, and I think we've tried to do that. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like one more bite at this apple. I agree with what Commissioner Davis is saying completely. And the problem I have is that somebody emailing candidates' names and not being able to be here for the interviews, but then gets a vote on who possibly could be the next administrator. I have a problem with that. And so if it had to be weighted, and perhaps the chair could ask Mrs. Finnegan if maybe the 2 candidates' weight wouldn't be as much as perhaps what a sitting commissioner is, including yourself and Commissioner Carnahan. That's where I'm having the pushback
so
on
your
this.
issue is with Mr. Grogan and Mrs. Finnegan having the same weight as the other 6.
I wouldn't even say it's, I'm sorry, I don't even think it's with Mrs. Finnegan. She's here. She's done that. I think even just getting the names wrong has left me unsettled. And if you're going to be gone,
So you'd like to scratch Mr. Grogan's?
I'm just telling you, I have a problem.
Well, what do you want to do? If you have a problem, you should have an explanation
Then
or
if that's the
solution.
case, then I would have to scratch Mrs. Finnegan.
You can make any of those suggestions you want, but it goes against why we did it in the first
I
place.
know,
Yes,
but-
sir.
All right, here, let's just be honest with one another. I know there's a general election. We know who's gonna win. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm pretty good at knowing how the public, or what the Democrat, Republican, deal is here. So what I would suggest is you take Mr. Grogan's out. He's not here. He emailed it. Take it out. That would be my suggestion, and move forward.
I would think that's reasonable. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I sure wish you wouldn't have said that before you called on me.
Well, no. I mean, I'm always open to whatever you guys want to do.
I'm gonna go back to, we decided when we agreed to have all 3 of them participate in the process. At that time, I think that would have been the time to have this discussion and iron it out. Going forward at this point, I would like to see all 3 of them. None of the waiting business with Mrs. Finnegan, and Mr. Grogan. The reality is if Mr. Grogan picks a candidate from left field to be our next administrator, he's got to have 3 or 4 other votes go with him.
Yep.
Or he's on his own. The majority of, what have we got, 7 people that are going to be deciding on our next administrator. It's going to take 4 of those people agreeing, which right now seems to be a bit of a challenge. It's going to take 4 of those people agreeing on that administrator. So that negates any effect that waiting would have on it. He can't just side with 1 or 2 people. He's got to round up 3 other people to vote the way that he wants to vote to put somebody in there. So I would oppose changing the rules in the middle of the process. We've got agreement to this point to do the background checks on 4 people, bring in 3 of them for interviews, and let's see how this goes. Staying the course, there's nothing wrong with staying the course right now that we're on.
And I would agree.
I would agree.
Okay, so we had 3 of us that agree. So, does the 5 of us want to agree and move forward with this?
I will agree to move forward.
Okay, so the way I see it, we got Larry Jones, Steve Howard, Toby Phillips, and Stanley Hawthorne on deck, right? Is that the way we look at it? Is that the way you see it, board?
So we're interviewing 4, correct?
Interviewing
Back
4. That's,
Right, okay.
okay, so Mr. Hawthorne is going to be included. We'll do 4, our top 4, that's it. 1 pass of interviews, right?
That's right.
Okay, are we all good with that?
Yep.
I would like
Yes.
to make one point of clarification, and this is, I take responsibility for not asking the specific question. You caught me a little off guard 1 or 2 meetings ago when you said that you were willing to let the likely commissioners or whatnot, whoever's in the field, the elect or in going forward to the election. And I believe I looked at you and kind of surprised and said, thank you. And I didn't think to ask if you were going to weight them the same. So to Commissioner Kennard's point, he's absolutely right. We should have discussed it back then, and we didn't. So
Well,
now
okay.
that we're moving forward on this, I'll go with the flow, but I'm just not particularly happy about any of it.
Well, I'm not either, so we're all equally unhappy. That means we're probably not working in the right direction. I mean, that's why these
Except you're
things.
getting your way.
No, I'm not. I mean, it's not. It's not about getting away. My number 1 person may make the cut, they may not, so all I do is I rank them and I call them. You cannot keep trying to change the rules until you win the game, and this goes right back to when the effort was made to get rid of Mr. Oliver. This goes right back to trying to bring in an interim. This goes right back to all that. And at that point, we said, we're holding ground, we're staying steady, we're moving through the process. And at the end of that, if it doesn't work, then at least we can say, we tried the process. We went through it. So in my mind, we win when we get a good quality county administrator. And I'm not going to be here working with them, but I've been through this enough, okay? We've hired some people in different organizations over the years, and unfortunately, typically the way this would be done is you'd fill out a form and hand it to Mr. Slavin, and he'd do the tallying and tell us who they are, okay? This is a system where we get to set and advocate for people we think are good and those that aren't, and we pretty much are within reason. I don't think there was any disagreement when we got to, out of the 7, who the 4 should be. I mean, that's very close. So I think we're already, pretty close to this. And in the end, I tell you, when we interviewed Mr. Oliver, my rankings changed the day they came up to the podium and talked. Even after I met with them personally, when they came up, Mr. Oliver's never changed, but number 3, 4, and 5, changed after that. So nothing is done until this board makes a motion to make an offer, if they do, on the 27th. Okay? So let me ask our attorney. Do you need a motion to do what we just asked Mr. Slavin to do, or can we just say, go do this?
Absolutely need a motion.
Okay.
Since this was such
Okay.
an easy discussion.
Okay, so let me restate the motion as I heard it, and I would give Commissioner Kennard credit for this if he wants to so claim it. But it would be to pick our top 4 that have been ranked. We could even say in no particular order that we're going to invite Stanley Hawthorne, Steve Howard, Larry Jones, and Toby Phillips to come in for the interview process, as we explained, and do the background checks. We're going to authorize them to do the background checks, okay? That's what I heard.
That's correct.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we'll give Commissioner Kennard the motion. I'm going to give Commissioner Carnahan a second because it was a tie. And
He's so loud.
and he disagreed with me earlier, so I got to make amends there a little. Okay, so at this point in time, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the board on this motion? Anyone to speak on this motion? Okay, so the public input's closed. Board, ready to move forward? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay.
Mr. Chair, I don't really
Yes.
disagree with you. I just figured we'd get some good
Oh,
conversation.
Yeah. My gosh, my wife yells at me more than you do, that doesn't even count. Okay, so, motion passes 5-0. Mr. Slavin, is there anything else you need from us? What is your recommended time? You think an hour per candidate individually is enough?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Some will run, well, it depends on the candidate and the conversation, but some you'll wish you had more time, and others you'll wish you had less time.
Okay, and then, and then on the 27th, do you believe if we give them each 15 minutes, that's plenty of
Yeah,
time?
I think so, because you'll know them, and.
They don't have to use it, but that
Yeah.
will allow them up to that.
And I'll prepare some questions that, there'll be sample questions, because I don't pretend to want to script you at all, but
Right.
there'll be questions that'll allow people to open up rather than to just say yes or no. And there'll be some questions that you can, I'll give you some questions that you can't ask because they're illegal, and and as much of the background work that is accomplished, I'll give you a report on that, too.
Yeah, if there's anything that comes up in the background we should be
Well,
aware of, you'll.
Yeah,
let us know.
well, it's possible something could come up that would cause us not to want to interview that person, and I'll let you know right away.
Okay, very good. Yes,
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman?
Slabaugh.
In the interest of discussion, are we going to allow Zoom interviews of
No.
the candidates?
No, no
Okay,
Zoom interviews.
there we go.
That's my feeling. What do you guys say? No, be here. If it's important
Okay.
enough, be here. And again, whether they choose to participate or not, I think all the folks that we invited here today should be invited to interview the candidates.
Yes,
Okay?
sir.
Okay,
In
so-
person.
In person. So Doug, when you schedule the interviews, or whoever's going to do it, would you make sure that the folks, and give them the option of not doing it, but invite everybody that we invited today, okay?
Thank you.
Candidates
Okay.
are expecting that, too.
Yes,
you.
yes, great. Okay, thank you. And Mr. Slavin, thank you very much. Appreciate you sticking around. We tried to do some of our best where we were all 5-0 the whole way through before we brought you up for this. so-
Well, if you're supposed to be 5-0 all the way through, there's no need for more than one of you, so. I think
That's
the
right, that's
discussion-
right. That's right. Well, thank you again. I think you did an excellent job bringing to us what you did, and we will go from there. Thank you.
Important question, how do I get out of this maze?
Well, it depends on where you're going. Talk to the maze master there, he'll get you out. Okay, Madam Clerk, did you get that? And we're all clear on that? We all voted, so we are done with item G1, I believe. So, now, let's go back to being nice and go to item, we have no public hearings today. We have one advisory board, which is item I1, which is the, actually, we're just going to accept with resignation William Berta and announce the vacancy as an alternate member of the Planning and Development Commission. And that term will expire on January 31st, 2025. I believe that's all we have to do, right, Ms. Lynn? Just announce it and accept the resignation?
Yes.
Okay. We've done that. And now we're going to go to I2, which is the Citrus Springs Advisory Board. And here, we're going to accept with regret the resignation of David Sharami from the Citrus Springs Advisory Council, announce the unexpired term of membership available, and acceptance of applications for a regular member position. Terms expire on 1/31/2024. Good?
Yes, sir.
Good on that. Okay. Let's go on to committee reports. Let's see, Commissioner Carnahan, you got any committee reports?
Did my
for us?
last Budget and Finance Committee for Gulf Coast Consortium. And then I also did my last Executive Board meeting. I did pressure them, since that was my last Executive Board. We have a regular board meeting tomorrow, which that will be my last. I did pressure them on when our projects will be coming out, and they are hoping it will be kicked out by Gulf Coast Council, the boat repping that on by December.
Ooh,
So
that'd be good.
Yeah, I pressured them, but with that, we did select Commissioner Bender from Escambia County to take my place. He was a alternative, so we went ahead and took the alternative and put him on the executive. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Slabaugh, any committee reports?
No, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Davis?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Kennard, any committee reports?
You want me to give the TBRPC, or you want to give that update?
Why, go
You want to
ahead.
give one last one? It's up to you.
Let me start it and you finish it.
All
How's
right.
that, okay?
All
Because I
right.
want to see what you picked up that I didn't.
All
Okay,
right.
so, got anything else other than the TBRPC?
No, I've actually got the Water Board Authority next week.
Oh, you're looking forward to that, huh?
Yeah. Yep. WRWSA.
You run in the door for that one.
All right, well then let me pick up on the TBRPC and then you can add whatever you would like to.
All right.
Again, this was my last meeting. All I can say is the folks down there were incredibly gracious. Some of the folks went together and pitched in, and bought Carrie and I some travel supplies to go to the Grand Canyon, like books that deal with the Grand Canyon and stuff like that, which I thought was real sweet of him. We also did the review in the executive board meeting. We also did the review of the executive director. And obviously, everyone was happy on a total 4. He got a 3.89, I believe, was that correct? 3.89?
Yeah.
And so everyone was very happy with Sean's performance down there, which they should be. Let's see, and then we had our regular meeting. By the way, I want to thank Commissioner-elect Bays and Commissioner Slabaugh and Commissioner Davis for being down there as well. How can I say this?
We got to witness your award.
Yeah, my major award. Right?
It was nice, actually.
Actually, I have to joke. I have to tell you, they went on to some degree about how wonderful I was, and I had to say, my commissioners are wondering who you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Yeah.
But anyway, we are held in high regard in the TBRPC, and that's because the way you all have supported them over the years with work they've done for us and everything. So I have a couple comments. I'll just run through these quick, Jeff, and then if you want to elaborate. We actually had 2 presentations, or 3. One went into the 2 main ones. One was about hurricane shelters. I thought what I picked up, and this will be interesting to see if Commissioner Kennard picked up something different, but it was a discussion about putting together a potential list of buildings that could be used for hurricane shelters, because it really kind of showed, based on population growth alone, that's funny, because, there's 4 of us there, and what I'm saying, we'll have to see if all 4 of us agree if this is what was said. But the interesting thing is that, schools have always been used in the past, and they'd pointed out schools are not a good source for using in the future for several reasons, because sometimes people need shelters for longer than kids can be out of school. And the other thing I thought was interesting is the designs. They're changing school designs so they're kind of hardened against terrorism and things like that, which doesn't necessarily equate them to storm shelters. The other things they said, Sarasota has developed a model on pet-friendly shelters where, for the years, the model's been that you can't cohabitat pets and people because there's allergies and so on and so forth. But evidently, Sarasota County has come up with a plan where that can be done. So that's one of the things the TBRPC does, is share that kind of information. But the one thing they recommended was that, that you develop a list going into the future, because there will be a shortage, and they also talked about recovery shelters, which was interesting, because sometimes storms over, people go back to their homes, but storms over and some people don't have homes to go back to. So they need shelters to recover for a long period of time. Then they also talked about the model shoreline ordinance, which this took a lot of debate over the months down at TBRPC, because everybody saw this as government trying to dictate to local governments how things should be done. And what this really is just a model ordinance and a template. So it talks about things like streamline the process and providing guidance to property owners and contractors to create shoreline projects to increase community resilience and improve local habitats and water quality. And all it simply is if we want to move forward with something in this direction, we can look at this model ordinance and say, we like this, we don't like that, let's adopt this, let's not adopt that. But a lot of work had gone into it, a lot of study. Then we also stayed for the Janet's committee, which was the Resiliency Coalition thing, where they're planning next year's event. And so that's and they also passed the resolution that the TBRPC will now only meet 6 times a year, longer, so it's probably going to take most of the day. And it'll be 6 times a year in the even months, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So when we plan for next year, that's what it should be. So, Commissioner Kennard, that was the highlights. What would you like to add?
All right, I will pick up on just a couple things. The TBRPC has applied for a grant from DEP to do a vulnerability study on Citrus County. They, again, touching on the shelters, they went through the different counties involved and how overall the region, how many shelter spaces were short. And Citrus County, right now, by their calculations, is short by 6,400 spots, shelter spots. The region by 2040 is expected to be short by 54,000 spots. And then you touched on creating a list. They suggested creating a list of properties that could potentially be used as shelters. And I'm sure that Randy has mentioned it to all of you as well, that if we get a Category 3 or Category 4 storm hit our shoreline, west of 19 is in trouble. There's an awful lot of homes that are gone. Where are those people going? And that's something that right now, if they're saying we're 6,400 short now, let something like that happen. So it is something that that we need to take serious and or more seriously, I suppose, and figure out what is going to be that plan if or when that storm hits. There was a brief touching on the challenge of sheltering folks that are being evacuated from another community. They get evacuated, they head north or they head south. They occupy the shelters, and then as that evacuation order moves its way up the coast, your shelters are all full, which is something that we've seen happen in the past. The let's see here, the Model Resilient Shoreline Ordinance, I have emailed that to Doug, so if anybody wants a copy of that, take a look at it. Doug can send that to you. And again, like Commissioner Kitchen said, they're not telling you this is what you have to go and do. There was a big emphasis, as the other three commissioners that were there can tell you, that it was, the talk was, figure out what works for your community. There's bits and pieces of this that will work great for yours. There's others that won't work great for you. And then they talked about, there's a portion of it that addressed permitting, that certain changes that people may want to do to their properties to make their shoreline more resilient maybe are very easy to permit or wouldn't require a permit at all. And then they had a column of things that was more conditional permitting. And then, of course, the third one that required significantly more evaluation on what kind of effects you would have to your neighboring properties and so forth. So interesting. It appeared to be a good piece of work. But anyway, Doug has that in his email that you can take a look at. And again, like Commissioner Kitchen said, there was a lot of talk about the Resiliency Summit. That will be May 3rd through the 5th of 23 at the Trade Winds. And there was a lot of talk about whether to continue on the course that they've had with the past summit, which involved no breakouts and I don't want to say a relatively small group, but relative to where they're talking about going with it in 23, having multiple breakouts, many more speakers, a lot more content for people to go and listen and learn from. So anyway, my first TBRPC meeting, and I enjoyed it. A lot of good information.
Great. I did remember something as you were talking, the discussion that, based on what we've heard here in the past, the discussion about the realtors and the section in the ordinance that the realtors might want to put on permit applications in the future that says you should be aware that the property you're buying is in a, they didn't say flood prone, they said a
Tidal,
affected area or
yeah.
something like that. And so, you know, how many times we had people standing here say, why didn't somebody tell me about this when I bought my house? And so instead of putting it in the model ordinance, I think the suggestion was made, was it not, that they contact the Realtors Association and have the Realtors attorney draft language that they could all live with having in there or whatever, you know. But again, I thought that was good, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good conversation.
And the reason that came about is you probably remember when C.J. Reynolds was here talking about this, because we asked them to look into the stormwater runoff issues. And at this point in time, they were dealing more with inundation, you know, what comes in from our good friend Jack Mariana said, well, we're not gonna get hit by too many big waves coming in from the Gulf. We're more interested in the
Yeah.
canals and the water rising in the canals, so. But he had some good points too. If you require everyone to build their seawall to 5 feet and all your neighbors build them to 4, then what keeps it out of their yard? And the answer is, well, it's not in yours. You know, so as they, and the big discussion about permitting is would people be required to retrofit and make it happen? Or would they go back and say, as you need to update? And again, as Commissioner Kennard said, nothing is required. It's just thoughts like we do when we work through an ordinance. Does this make sense or doesn't it? So, good. It's a lot of stuff, and it's one of those things when you ponder it. By the way, anybody's interested, every presentation is on the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council's website, so you can go and all these presentations are on there. Okay, Commissioner Carnahan, you have anything else for
No, I
us?
don't, no, sir.
All right, and you've had your last committee meetings, is that right?
Yep, and I got a lot of praise for them, and that was a great group to work with and get a lot of stuff done, so.
Well, you've been there from the beginning of that, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah, so Good for you.
Yep.
Commissioner Kennard, anything else?
I have nothing.
Okay, Commissioner Davis, anything else for us today?
Went to the Innovation and Technology Summit in Tampa 2 weeks ago tomorrow, and pretty stunning group of people, and made some really good economic development contacts. So I think that was definitely a trip well worth making. That's it.
That's it, okay. Commissioner Slaybach,
No, sir.
anything?
No, sir.
Nothing.
No, now you're
Okay.
putting the pressure
Nah,
on me.
Just
No.
just checking. Make sure you didn't forget.
I did enjoy seeing you get the award. It was nice to hear people talk really nice about you.
Well, thank you. And it was nice of you to come over and congratulate me. That was
Of
nice.
course, yes. I was proud that you represented us well.
Isn't that funny? It's like, I'm sure there's some theory about that, but we can sit in here and slug it out all day long, but when we go away someplace, we're all on the same team.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's see. I have nothing additional for you tonight. Madam Attorney, do you have anything for us?
No, but we have things for you to sign.
Okay, very good. I won't be running off. Okay, and let's see. We're open to public again. Is anyone here to speak at this time?
Janet Barrick, Citrus Springs. Thank you very much for passing the drone thing. What we want you to realize is that's 100 pilots coming into this county, which means that's 100 rooms that are going to get rented in Citrus County. That's at least 300 meals a day that are going to be purchased. And in 5 days' time, that's 1,500 meals. This is not a little event. And hopefully we'll be able to grow. 100 is our minimum number that we're looking at right now. And I was very happy that you went along with the dragon boats. Hernando is trying to do things in their area. We have lots of things to offer in Citrus County. And hopefully, the initiatives that the areas are taking will be positive ones that the board will get on board with. And we'd like to thank you for waiving the $25 a day fee. Even if you want it, we could pay it, but we do thank you for allowing us to use the facility for free.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the public, at this, the board at this time? Anyone else? Okay, I'll make a comment to that. I don't know if you've done this or not. The TDC has advertising dollars available to advertise outside of the county for these types of events. Matter of fact, the Dragon Boat races, the TDC gives them money for out-of-county advertising for the very reasons you talk about. So I would encourage you to contact Mr. Pritchard over there, fill out an application. They're going to ask you those questions. How many hotel rooms you're going to fill? How many people are coming? Whatever. And then you have to understand, you make the application, it comes from a separate grant fund, but it's only for out-of-county advertising. The concept is you put on the event, the TDC would help you advertise to people outside the county to come here for that event. So I just offer that to you if you haven't followed that yet. And anything else on this?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I was actually just going to say, suggest TDC. And secondly, I am very well aware of how big drone racing is, and I think that's pretty cool that, you know, you're not exactly the target market and you're out there putting that on. I think that's awesome. Very forward thinking of you. And thanks for bringing all those folks to the county. And please do contact Mr. Pritchard.
Anybody else have any comments? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, real
Yes,
quick,
yes.
I think we'd be remiss to leave the subject without giving a tip of the hat to former Commissioner Jimmy T. Smith.
Yes, thank you.
for designating the drone park.
Yep.
He did.
Thank
That's why I
you.
said-
Well said.
I
That's
didn't
right.
one last year.
Well, we said, you know, we're gonna use it, that's
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
okay. Tip of the hat to former Commissioner Jimmy T. Smith.
I sent him an invite to
Yeah.
it, just, I think he should be.
All right, let's see, our next upcoming meetings, regular meeting will be September 27th, 1 o'clock. You do not want to miss that one, that'll be a good one. And a regular meeting October 18th at 1 o'clock as well. Also October 31st, and then we have our tentative budget hearing, our final one. No, wait a minute. This is still on here for September, that's wrong. Our final one is Tuesday, September 27th. The agenda says Thursday, September 8th, but we've already had that. So, that is our upcoming meetings. There is no further business, so we are adjourned.